Welcome, Brown Mamba Show, Episode 5, the NFL Countdown. We are live! Welcome on into the Brown Mamba Show. I am your host, Casey Brown, joined as always with my co-host, Matt McCormick. Matt, how you doing today, bud?
Sound quality is not the deal breaker for you tuning into podcast, because holy frick.
Why, did my mic just peak there really loud?
Yeah.
Well, what are you gonna do? If
We're doing it live, baby.
We've said it before. If you're watching this podcast for quality content, just go away right now. This is not the podcast for
Got
you.
it here.
If you haven't already seen the other 4 episodes and just realized how trash we are, I don't know what to tell you. But today is a special edition of the show, as I already just put Windows File Explorer right over both of our faces, so we're off to a hot start. Today is a special edition of the show. We are doing the NFL preview for this year. We already got one game in last night, the Bears and the Packers, with a barnstorming 10-3. We got a game in Chicago. Matt, how did you think about that? You're the big Packers guy.
We got off to a good start. The defense actually looked good. Looked a little shaky, but he didn't play at all in the preseason. So you know what? I'm going to consider that as preseason. To put too much on the offense just because I know how great the Bears defense is. I'm a little worried about our young receiving core, but how impressive the defense was. Just stick with the positives and take that 1-0 record.
Okay, so you did cut out a little bit there. So you said it was Rodgers. So you only cut out a few names and stuff like that. So it was Rodgers' first preseason game, like you said, or it was his first game. He didn't play in the preseason, so nothing really to worry about. That's just a little rust on him, and he hasn't had that game action yet, and work with this receiving core in game. And then you said that you're kind of taking it with a grain of salt just because of how good the Bears defense is, that you're not too worried.
We're in a new offense with a new head coach, so
yeah, exactly.
I mean, that's going to happen.
Exactly. And then the Bears on the other side, the Bears just looked horrible. I mean, the defense looked great like usual, but there was times when once Rodgers turned to switch, it looked like they couldn't do anything against them. And that's more of just Rodgers being the best quarterback of all time over the Bears defense, not producing. So I mean, the Bears looked dominant. There was a few times where Rodgers was having to move out of the pocket within a second and a half, and so there's that. And then on the other side, the Mitch Trubisky train just really derailed on me. Fantasy football is not looking too hot for me this year. He's my QB1.
Mitch Trubisky?
Yeah, Mitch Trubisky's my QB1. I got Jameis on the bench, so...
Dear God, what is wrong with you?
I had a lot of faith in those two. It's not looking too great now. But I mean, I think a part of that is definitely on Mitch. He did not look good at all. I think I want to say I overheard in the broadcast they said that Mitch didn't throw one pass in the preseason. So maybe he just needs to work out some kinks and everything. But the offensive line for the Bears looked god awful. The second Trubisky snapped the ball, I felt like there was a Packers D lineman within the backfield within a third of a second. So Packers defense looked incredible. We'll get into the Packers as we do this preview and everything. But I will say I'm a huge fan of the Packers this year. We'll get into it. We'll get into my prediction and everything for the Packers, but big fan of the Packers this year. So.
Yeah.
All right, so that was last night. So all the other games are going to be happening this Sunday. It's going to be the first Sunday for a long time where football is finally back. We've waited a long time ever since they didn't play the Super Bowl last year, and the Chiefs game and the Patriots game just ended with an offsides, and the Saints game and Rams game just ended with a pass interference. It's a shame we didn't get a Super Bowl, but really hoping we get to see the Saints and the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. Maybe they do a rematch or something really quickly or something like that. But really like to see that. So Uh,
You
going.
need defense so much. You just need 50 points to be entertained with your peanut-sized brain. Jesus,
I
man.
just need to see maybe Jared Goff not be bad at football and Tom Brady throw something besides 5-yard checkdowns.
Hey,
I
he
don't.
threw that deep pass to Gronk near the end of the game.
Yeah. Okay. So that's the thing. Brady. I'm not a Brady hater. I'm just not a Brady lover. I think Brady is the greatest quarterback of all time. Uh, I don't think that's up for debate. And
Uh,
but I feel like with Belichick, if he never had Belichick, Brady maybe has two Super Bowl rings. I think without Brady, Belichick has 4 Super Bowl rings. I think Brady relies more on Belichick than Belichick relies more on Brady, and that's no fault of Brady. He's what 42 years old, and I get it. He's still out there. He's still playing at a high level, so I can't hate on the guy. But that Patriots offense is just built around Tom Brady making quick passes to open guys right over the middle of the field, which is effective, obviously, because they won a Super Bowl with it. But I'm just saying that Tom Brady isn't going out there to scorch you with 20-yard bombs and picking your defense apart. He's just throwing to an open guy like right over the middle for 5 yards every single time, whether it's Julian Edelman or James White on the outside. So that's my take. I'm not. I'm not.
telling me.
I'm not a huge hater like Sports Talk Barry, but I'm not a lover either.
Telling me Jimmy Garoppolo can win Super Bowls with Bill Belichick, you're saying?
Yes. Well, I don't know.
What?
I don't know about Jimmy Garoppolo. I've never been
Jacoby
I've never been a
Brissett?
Jimmy Garoppolo guy. But I yes. All right. Going into it after that hot take. Let's get to the
Scorching.
what's that? Scorching hot take. All right. So going into it, let's hit the probably the most. I don't know about um, the most boring division this year. Probably second most boring division, right before the AFC East. We got the NFC East. So we got the Redskins, Eagles, and Giants all competing to be above mediocre this year. So let's hit the Redskins first. Their offseason, they acquired Landon Collins and Eric Flowers, and not a huge fan of Eric Flowers. He still has some protection issues and stuff like that. But I have it, and they also acquired Dominique Rodgers-Cromartie. But since they drafted Dwayne Haskins, and you have a guy like Eric Flowers out there, you need to protect your young quarterback. I know that Dwayne Haskins isn't starting yet, and they have
Mhm.
Case Keenum starting, and I think that's the right idea right now. I think they shouldn't throw Haskins into that mix just because Trent Williams isn't there, so you don't want your young quarterback just getting absolutely leveled out there. So I think it's the right idea to start Haskins or not start Haskins and just start Keenum and let Haskins learn little bit. Haskins showed flashes of greatness in the preseason. He also showed flashes of that he's still definitely a rookie in the preseason. So just let him learn and let him not get killed. But besides that, they lost Zach Brown this offseason. They lost HaHa Clinton Dix, lost Jamison Crowder, and they lost Ty. Is it Nishek or Nisheki? How do you pronounce that? Nishek? I think it's Nishek. Um, and then when it comes to drafting, they drafted Haskins, Montez Sweat, Terry McLaurin, Bryce Love. Bit of a reach where they got him, but still a solid running back. And they also got Kevin Harmon. He's a really big physical receiver, but he has a 4.6 speed, and they got him in the 6th round. So I think out of all the draft picks, I think the Redskins did really well this year doing a draft pick, really bolstering their young offense, and also getting Montez Sweat, who is a baller. I really like him. Um, but when it comes to Redskins fans, you should just take this year with a grain of salt. I really think the Redskins should just throw in the towel and completely tank, and
Mhm.
bolster up their offensive line in this next year's draft, and then maybe start getting Haskins out there and letting him sling the ball and seeing what happens. But besides that, they have Darius Geis coming back with Adrian Peterson. That's a very solid running back duo. And besides that, their offensive line is Jonathan Allen, Deron Payne, and Matt Ladanis and Ryan Kerrigan. Ryan Kerrigan had 13 sacks last year. Jonathan Allen and Deron Payne, I think they call like the Alabama Wall or something. That defensive line is legit. They're young enough to continue to produce in the future. So I definitely think the Redskins should tank. At least for another year, maybe two. Really bolster that offensive line so Haskins isn't getting killed back there. Maybe get him one or two more receivers. But if you're a Redskins fan and they're rebuilding right now, be hopeful because I really like all the young pieces they have right now. How about you?
Haskins, yeah, I mean they're not going to do anything this year. They're going to eventually play Haskins. You're going to see him play by at least the halfway point. They're not going to play with Keenum the whole year. Terry McLaurin, I think he's going to be a better pro receiver than he was at Ohio State.
Mm-hmm.
I like Haskins just maybe because I'm a little biased because I like watching Ohio State. I really don't want to see him play much this first year, maybe a little bit, or just to give him some experience. You know, going 4-0 this year, good season for them, and I think they're going to be worse than the Giants this year, honestly.
All right, so you had them going 4-12, and you think they're going to be worse than the Giants? All right, yeah. So I have them going 5-11, so we're pretty close on that. But like I said, once again, if you're a Redskins fan, which we said before, we don't think actually exists, but if you are out there and you do like the Redskins, be hopeful for the future. This is a rebuild that's going pretty well, and you're still going to see a bunch of young talent that's already contributing. So be hopeful for the future. All right,
Mm-hmm.
so let's move into the Nick Foles-less Philadelphia Eagles. This offseason, they acquired Jordan Howard, Deshaun Jackson, Malik Jackson, Zach Brown, L.J. Fort, and Andrew Sadejo. They lost Foles, Jay Ajayi, and Jordan Hicks. And then they also drafted Miles Sanders, who's going to be a really solid H-back back there. He's going to be a really solid combo with Jordan Howard as long as Jordan Howard can produce. And then they got also a receiver. I want to say, so it's JJ. I want to say you pronounce his name Arceja Whiteside. I want to say that's how you pronounce his last name. But he's big. He's a big, solid physical receiver. He honestly reminds me a lot of Alshon Jeffrey, who they already have. So I don't know who will if we'll see much of him this year. But that's a solid draft that they have. At least give Carson Wentz some tools. But I think this year it really depends on how Carson Wentz does. So we've seen MVP Wentz, and we've also seen uh, just mediocre, not even the best quarterback in his division Wentz, and in a division that doesn't have a good quarterback. We've already seen that. So, uh, yeah, it's a weird time for Eagles fans. I think their season depends all on that.
Eagles, if Carson Wentz is going to be last year, he's got more weapons. Good. I think it's still a really great run. You have that rookie that they got. You still have freaking Darren Sproles for some reason. You got Alshon Jeffrey, wide receiver that I don't even know how to pronounce it. Can stay healthy. I think this Eagles team is going to be really good. Wentz is still good. I actually had him going 12-4 and winning the division.
Yeah, so I do agree. I think Wentz will be better than last year. Nelson Aguilar isn't the best receiver in the world, but he's a solid number two, across from Alshon Jeffrey. And
Right.
like we said, they drafted a few solid, very not explosive, but very dynamite type players, that could really produce for them. Their defense, they have Brandon Brooks returning from injury, and you pair him with Malik Jackson, Fletcher Cox, Zach Brown, and L.J. Fort and Nigel Bradham. That's a legitimate defense right there. That's a legitimate front. That's a solid front seven, and they got Malcolm Jenkins and Ronnie McLeod who returned. I think he returned from injury. I think Ronnie McLeod was out. So that should help with secondary, and they also added Andrew Sadehu. So their secondary it isn't incredible, but it should be good enough to help bolster that front seven that's already there. But like we said, is That worst part of the team is the running backs, and when the worst part of your team is the running backs, and you have Jordan Howard as your running back, I think you're in a really solid position. Once again, it all depends on how well Wentz is, but I had them going 10-6, but if they go 12-4 or maybe 13-3, I wouldn't be surprised. But they could also go 7-9.
Yeah.
It wouldn't surprise me at all.
Depends on Wentz.
It all depends on Wentz. It honestly does. But even 7-9, you might win this division.
Honestly, you might.
And then moving into it, we have the division, or we have the team in the division with the best quarterback, obviously Daniel Jones. We're gonna move into.
Heck yeah.
We're gonna move into the Giants. This offseason, they added Golden Tate, Kevin Zeitler, and Jabril Peppers. They lost Landon Collins and Olivia Vernon, and then some guy named Odell Beckham Jr. And then besides that, they drafted Dexter Lawrence. I get it. Dexter Lawrence is a solid player, but they traded Dame Harrison for a fifth rounder and just took his replacement in the first. Not sure about that move, but it is what it is. Dexter Lawrence is going to be a solid player. And then they drafted Daniel Jones. Obviously, they got DeAndre Baker, who's another sketchy pick. This guy's name always gets me. I think it's O'Shane Zimmies. I could be wrong though. And then besides that, they have they drafted Julian Love, who I think is going to be a really solid nickel corner. But this receiving core is weird. It, it, it's incredibly weird. We got Evan Ingram.
Phone call.
I'm sorry. We got Evan Ingram and Sterling Shepard, who are both very solid in their own parts. Sterling Shepard is your number one wide receiver, though. Not sure about how that's going to go.
Yeah.
I really liked Sterling Shepard last year. Sterling Shepard really produced well.
Okay, though.
But wide receiver 1 for Sterling Shepard is incredibly odd. They will get Golden Tate back because Golden Tate got suspended for wanting to have family. So, screw that guy. But obviously they got the quad father himself, Saquon Barkley, in the backfield. So it's all going to depend on this, on that receiving core. I think they should tank. I think this entire division needs a tank besides the Eagles, but they still have solid young pieces. My question for you is, how many touches do you think Saquon's going to get this year? Is it crazy to think
between 6,000 and 8,000?
Do you think it's crazy that he gets 350 or maybe 400 touches between rushes and receiving? That doesn't sound crazy to me.
Not at all. This dude's gonna carry this freaking team.
The Giants might take a year or two off of Saquon Barkley's career this year, and it's gonna be rough. But I believe in him. But they added guys like Kevin Zeitler and Jabril Peppers, who I watched from the Browns. Kevin Zeitler is one of the most unappreciated right guards in the league, so that's a solid gift for them. Especially once you put Daniel Jones in there, you'll at least have one guy can really depend on that right side. And then Jabril Peppers had his breakout year last year. He really played well for the Browns, and I can only see him improving more and more. Now that he was put into his actual safety spot and not moved about 50 yards off the line of scrimmage with Greg Williams. So, but besides that, if the Giants go 5-10 this year, it doesn't surprise me. If they go 2-14,
got them going 6-10.
You got them going 6-10. If they go 2-14, which I think they should, that's even a better year for them. But I think 5-10 is probably the solid range for them, just because they play in this.
Possible to have.
What's that? Or 5-11. 5-10-1. 5-10-1. I'm predicting a tie. I'm predicting a 6-6 tie with the Redskins. But so I think 5 wins is reasonable. 5 and 6 wins is reasonable, but they should get 2 wins and just embrace the tank. I'm all about the tanking. You got any other inputs on the
Yeah, they're gonna throw Daniel Jones out there really early. Eli's gonna survive like 4 weeks, and then they're gonna Daniel Jones out there. Yeah. Eli's done. Up or he's gonna retire. I mean, his career is pretty much done.
Yep.
Saquon. Waste Saquon.
Yeah, and like the thing is, like, so we obviously all laughed at the Daniel Jones pick. I think a
Yeah.
part of it was just because that like Dwayne Haskins was available, and they drafted this white kid from Duke who like
Yeah.
none of us have ever heard before. Daniel Jones is going to be a solid rookie quarterback, and he
Say he's good because of what he did in the preseason.
no,
I'm not so sure about him yet.
yeah. No, and I agree. I agree. Like, always take preseason with a grain of salt. But he did look good in preseason. You know, that's obviously take it with a grain of salt. But he did look good. And I think a part of it was just the Giants took him so high, and everybody laughed that they just took another Eli Manning. But you got to think. We all think about the Eli Manning right now. If you know you can have the career of Eli Manning and another quarterback of Eli in his prime
You're
with
gonna take that.
yeah, you're gonna take that with the sixth pick. Like, I don't think Eli's a Hall of Famer, but he's close.
He's gonna be just because of those 2 Super Bowls and those 2 Super Bowl MVPs.
Yeah, and it's not just like
Patriots.
and it's not like the Super Bowls are the only reason he's going to the Super Bowl. Like Eli's prime was a top 15, maybe top 10 quarterback. It's
He's had some really good defenses over the years, but he's still delivered with
yeah, exactly. So
weapons. But
if you're able to take a multi-time Pro Bowler quarterback with the sixth pick, it's a reach, but you got your guy, and you got a guy who's familiar with this giant system, or who's going to be compatible with this giant system. So I get it. I get we all want to laugh at it. I laughed at it. I still laugh at it,
Rick,
but it's not the worst thing in the world. And if you're a Giants fan, be excited about Daniel Jones. And
really, they are now. They think he's Jesus now after the preseason.
well, yeah, I mean, he obviously is, but just be excited, you know, and realize that you drafted Eli Manning, but that's not a bad thing because Eli Manning won you 2 Super Bowls with the help of a defense, and if you can get a good defense, I don't see why any reason Daniel Jones can't take you to multi trips to the playoffs.
See,
And now we finally get into the worst quarterback in the division, the Cowboys.
hey,
The Cowboys this offseason added Randall Cobb and Robert Quinn, pretty solid additions. They lost Dak's favorite receiver to miss about 5 yards with Cole Beasley, and then they drafted Connor McGovern, who should solidify that offensive line. That's already really good. They drafted Tony Pollard and Mike Weber, who are both really solid running backs. I'm not a fan of drafting 2 running backs in back-to-back rounds, but you know it is what it is. And they got ISO Joe Jackson as a late depth move, but he should be useful. They lost guys like David Irving, Demarcus Lawrence, and Covington as edge guys with Hill at the middle. So you know they lost those guys. The Cowboys look bad. The Cowboys look incredibly bad. Their offensive line is good, but you got to realize
still solid.
Zeke has been that Zeke has been getting fat on tacos and margs in Cabo this offseason. You still have Dak Prescott as your quarterback, who is mad that he's not getting $40 million a year, and that secondary besides Byron Jones is putrid. Like it's going to be another Cowboys year that it all depends on Zeke, and like I said, he was getting fat on tacos and margs in Cabo, so.
No, I think you're a little harsh on the Cowboys. I got them going 10-6 and missing the 2008 Browns.
10-6.
Incredible offensive line. Dak Prescott is not a terrible quarterback. He's good enough to manage the freaking game.
He lost to David Carr after David Carr was retired for 8 years.
Amari Cooper, Randall Cobb, Michael Gallup, freaking the greatest commentator of all time in Monday Night Football history, and Jason Witten back. Solid defense.
Oh yeah, they got a 38-year-old tight end who is a year removed from ESPN.
Amari Cooper, Randall Cobb, Michael Gallup, Jason Witten as a red zone.
Amari Cooper had 4 good games, and that's it. Amari Cooper is the Derrick Henry of receivers last year. We don't know how he's going to be. And like I said, Randall Cobb is just another Cole Beasley where Dak Prescott's going to throw it at his feet every time. So,
much better than Cole Beasley.
Yeah. I don't care how.
What do you think the Cowboys are going to do?
I think the Cowboys are going to go 7-9.
awful. I mean, you're talking like they're going freaking 13.
With that offensive line and that many weapons on offense, you should be going like 11-5. You should be going 10-6. You shouldn't be going 7-9.
Had
But
a really good one of the best teams in the NFL. But with Dak Prescott, I still think they're a solid team at 10-6.
Dak Prescott's just a worse Deshaun Watson, who's just not a good quarterback.
You're a little harsh on Deshaun Watson too, but we'll get into that later.
But no, I don't think it's like it. So once again, they played this division. So if they go 10-6, I get it. But that means Zeke had to produce a lot, which I think Zeke is going to produce.
Doing every year.
Yeah, but like I said, he was getting fat on tacos and margs and Cabo. So we don't know how he's going to perform the first few games. They might lose a few games.
Hey, and okay, that's not a good comparison, but whatever.
Who are you about to compare to?
Tacos a lot, but I'm not very productive, so never mind. It's fine.
Yeah, I also eat tacos a lot, but if I try and wear my crop top on my jersey right now, I'd look like a fool. But but like I said, like that secondary for the for the for the Cowboys is god awful. They're gonna get torched. I mean, good thing is they play in a division where quarterbacks are a little bit of a question mark right now, but I just don't see them being a playoff contending team, especially even though they have all those tools on offense. I just don't see it.
Most help Dak Prescott has gotten in his short career, and I'm not saying Dak Prescott's good. I'm not like Skip Bayless where I think he's the most underrated player in the NFL, all right? He's average. $40 million back. But this guy can win you enough games to sneak into the playoffs. Look at his rookie year, 13-3 or something. He got suspended. Dak Prescott's like, oh, frick. And then last year they won. They made it to the playoffs last year, and they beat the freaking Seahawks.
All right, so I am a little harsh on Dak. I've seen enough of Dak missing a receiver at his feet when he has a clean pocket, when he's like 5 years away. But I am a little harsh on Dak. Dak is not going to win you a football game. Dak, however, is going to put you in a position where you can win a football game. I think there is a really big difference in that, and that's a huge.
What does that mean?
What's that?
So you're saying he can't win a football game, but he'll put you in the position. So it's his game to lose, is what you're saying.
He won't win you a football game. He won't take charge of the offense. However, he will play fine enough, not good enough, fine enough to make sure your team isn't losing. I think there's a huge difference in that. If you get what I'm saying, like he's not going to dominate, but at the same time, he's not going to just completely throw away the game for you.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't think he's good. I think average.
Good either.
I think average is a little bit of a compliment that shouldn't be thrown his way. I think mediocre and subpar are much better.
I got him below Alex Smith in his prime. That's where I have Dak. And you're probably going to think that's generous too.
Alex Smith in his prime? I have him I have him Case Keenum with the Vikings. But so yeah, I don't know. If the Cowboys go 7-9 this year, I'm not going to be surprised. But if they do go, what did you say, 10-6? You said
still missing the playoffs.
10-6, still missing the playoffs. That doesn't surprise me either. I don't know. I wish Dak was good because I really liked Dak coming out of the draft. I really liked him his rookie year. I really liked what he had to offer and everything. He just hasn't produced. So it is what it is. But I think the Cowboys are going to be disappointing with what they have. But they have Dak Prescott. That is what they have. So
for Dak, like honestly, like he could not be. He might not be the quarterback next year if he sucks it up this year.
I don't think he will be the quarterback next year. I really don't. I think.
Do you think they'll sign a free agent, or do you think they'll draft a quarterback if Dak doesn't work out?
If Dak doesn't work out, I think Jerry Jones is crazy enough to try and trade up for Tua Tagovailoa.
Tagovailoa.
I
Oh my goodness.
I think he is crazy enough. And there's going to be some solid quarterbacks coming out of this draft anyways, with like Jake Fromm from Georgia and all those. So I think the Cowboys have options. I don't know if they're going to trade for a quarterback. Maybe they bring in like some guy, maybe like Tyrod Taylor or something. But I, I don't know. I I think Tyrod Taylor's a better quarterback than Dak Prescott. I'll say that.
I,
It's just
I'll
it's
for a
just,
year before I can agree to that.
yeah. Okay, I got you.
For a year.
All right, let's move into the division with three really good quarterbacks and also Kirk Cousins. We got the NFC we, we got the NFC North. Let's start. We're gonna start with honestly my favorite team. Matt, I'm sure you're gonna be you're gonna have a lot to talk about the NFC North here. But I'm gonna talk about my favorite team really quickly in the NFC North here. I think these guys are gonna surprise a lot. So this year, the Lions acquired Trey Flowers, Justin Coleman, Jesse James, Ade Abushi, C.J. Anderson, and Danny Amendola. You got you. Where are you going, Matt?
I'm listening.
You don't like the Lions?
I'll before I get mad.
All right, I'll talk a little bit about the Lions. They drafted T.J. Hawkinson. They drafted Amani Orari, who I think was a massive steal in the 5th round, the cornerback out of Penn State. So I think drafting wise, they definitely filled some needs. I'm not a huge fan of taking a tight end with I think like the 12th pick or whatever. But I think they and they also got Alshon Robinson. So I think oh no, Alshon Robinson was already there. I'm sorry about that, but I think the Lions definitely added some solid pieces to give Matt Stafford a chance this year. The biggest thing is Matt Stafford just hasn't had a chance to throw to anybody since Calvin Johnson left. And they also have Snacks Harrison, Alshon Robinson, and Deshaun Hand and Trey Flowers. That front seven that's a dominant front seven, and they have a secondary to kind of shore up that front seven. It's not going to be the best secondary in the world, but it's good enough to make sure that front seven produces. Stafford finally has weapons again, so he has Kenny Galladay, Marvin Jones, Danny Amendola. I get it; they're not the best weapons, but those are all solid pieces for Stafford to finally maybe throw to.
Uh-huh.
I really like Kenny Galladay. He's not going to blow you away, but I really like him. And then, they have Kerryon Johnson and C.J. Anderson, Jesse James and T.J. Hawkinson. That's a solid tight end duo right there. Here's going to be the crazy part, Matt. I predict the Lions to go 10-6 this year.
What?
All right, so for the audio-only listeners, Matt is just having a panic attack right now, but Matt, would you like to give me your breakdown of the Lions and maybe sway me a little bit? I really like the Lions. I really like the Lions this year, and I really like Stafford. I think Stafford's been probably the most underrated quarterback these past 5 years.
All right. First of all, saying Matt Stafford never had any weapons other than Calvin Johnson. Golden Tate, freaking Marvin Jones, and then they freaking wasted Eric Ebron for his first few years.
Oh no, Eric Ebron wasted himself. The Lions did not waste Eric Ebron.
I can't speak on that because I'm not 100% on it, but freaking, oh god, last place in this division. I have them going 6-10 division this year. Okay, Vikings have a good chance at winning this division. I think the Packers have a good chance, and I think the Bears have a good chance. I don't think the Lions have a good chance. They're going to win some good games because freaking Matt Patricia wants to make his freaking discount New England Patriots that aren't the New England Patriots. When you go to the freaking grocery store and you want some Frosted Flakes and your freaking mom picks up like freaking Frosted Flaky stupid cereal that ain't the real freaking replacement, okay?
You want Chips Ahoy, but your mom's picking up the Benton Chewy cookies. You just
this is like you want some Cheez-Its and you pick up some cheese nips. Like, get those freaking nips out of here. I want the its. Okay, this Lions team is not that good. Matthew's almost washed up. You're too high, Stafford, man.
Okay,
They're going.
so
I
I
think
think
Danny Amendola is going to turn this team
no, I
around.
don't think Danny Amendola is going to turn this team around. He's just another solid. He's their third receiver right now, and I
He's
don't
going to
think.
be great for the first 2 weeks before he gets hurt again, dude.
Yeah, that's the thing. If Danny Amendola gets hurt, then we're gonna
And
have.
then they suck. Ooh.
I don't think 6-10. I get it. I get why people don't like the Lions. I really like the Lions. If they go 8-8, 9-7, I still think that's obviously overperforming. I really think like we're gonna see a lot of good things out of this team this year, and I think they're gonna definitely surprise some
There's
people.
good things out of this team and 10 bad things.
Even
That's what
though
you're getting.
even though they're probably in, are, are they in the toughest division in the NFL? They might be.
NFC North is tough. Other than the Bengals, I think
NFC South is
East
tough,
South
and NFC West. Um,
and Seahawks, Cardinals are kind of iffy.
yeah, but no, I think
That's
they're in an obviously incredibly tough division. Even though the Vikings are not great, they're still a competitive team.
solid. Yeah.
So they are an incredibly tough position. But I really like what the Lions have to offer. If they go 6-10, I get it. But I'm high on them this year. They are the team.
Six.
I'm high on them.
You.
Uh,
The
I
division. I got them going 4 in the division.
you got them going.
Generous.
Yeah, yeah. It is what it is.
Before I beat you up.
All right, let's move on to the you like that team. We got the Vikings. This past offseason, they acquired Josh Klein and Shamar Stevens. Not great. They lost Latavius Murray, Sheldon Richardson, and Andrew Sadejo. They drafted Garrett Bradbury, hopefully, who plugs up that gut up the center, and Irv Smith Jr. and Alexander Mattson, who is going to be a Latavius Murray replacement. I really like that pick for them. But besides that, Kirk has a bunch of fun weapons this year. So that he has Diggs and Adam Thielen, obviously. He has Kyle Rudolph, Irv Smith, Dalvin Cook, and Alexander Mattson. If the Vikings don't produce this year on offense, it's Kirk Cousins' fault.
Freaking one of the biggest busts in free agency.
It's Kirk Cousins' fault. Last year was also Kirk Cousins' fault, but you can blame some of it on their offensive coordinator. This year, if Kirk Cousins doesn't produce, it's all on Kirk. And that's really what it comes down to. It is Kirk needs to produce. Kirk needs to show why he is worth all that guaranteed money. I don't think he was. I think it was a little bit of an overpayment. I think overpaying for QBs is fine in free agency, but man, that was a really big overpayment. But Kirk,
Playoffs.
yeah, Kirk is just needs to show it this year, and I don't know if he will. And, the offensive line is a huge question mark. 0 of their 5 guys up front has any certainty whatsoever. Their secondary is a huge question mark as well. Their secondary has a high upside, though. They have Xavier Rhodes and Mackenzie Alexander and Harrison Smith at safety. That's a lot of high upside. It's just a lot of guys who haven't produced, are young, or have been injured. So I don't think it's crazy to think the Vikings go 6-10 this year.
That's what you got them going?
Yep.
10-7, 3-3 in the division.
You have them going 10-7?
No, 9-7.
Oh, 9-7. Well, yeah, that math works.
7's impossible.
See,
You have them missing the playoff.
not if the NFL enacts my idea of adding the one neutral site game and just getting rid of the 2 preseason games.
You lost all your credibility when you said Matthew Stafford was the most underrated quarterback in the last 5 seasons, so I don't think they're going to listen to you.
I'm looking at Matt Stafford's stats right now just to make myself.
Vikings are still a solid team. I mean, it's all on Kirk Cousins this year. Freaking their defense is solid. Probably the greatest one core. Can't really think off. Maybe the Browns with Landry and Beckham. Trying to think of any other really good 1-2 receivers.
I mean, the Falcons have Julio and Ridley, but even then, that's shaky. Yeah, I mean, Rams have Cooper Kupp, Robert Woods, and Brandon Cooks, but
solid. But I'd rather have Diggs than Thielen. I mean, they're
Yeah,
really good. Thielen kind of fell off the end of last year, but I still think he's a really solid receiver. I think Diggs is a really good receiver.
and Diggs didn't have a great year last year, but I definitely think he comes back to like his form this year.
I mean, Kirk Cousins has all the weapons. It's on him. I just don't think. I mean, this division's tough. I mean, even the Lions are going to be 8. Bears are going to be tough. I got them going 9-7. They're going to be in the playoff hunt for the entire year, but I just don't think they're going to make it.
Uh, yeah, I mean, once again, if they do go 9-7, that doesn't surprise me. But if they do go 6-10, like what I think they will, there's a lot of question marks on that team, and we don't know how Kirk's going to produce. I don't think they're a playoff team. I think a big part of that is not just because of Kirk, but just because of the division they play in. It's just going to be so hard to get into the playoffs and get wins like that. If they played in the NFC East, I think they're a playoff team. But it it's just the division they play in. They play the Bears and the Packers, who I have both making the playoffs next year or make the playoffs this year. That it's just hard, and there's a lot of question marks. But
Kirk Cousins, great contract.
you like that?
As a cheesehead, I really like that.
All right, let's move into the losers of last night. Da Bears. The
Yeah.
the Bears acquired Clinton Dix this year. They lost Jordan Howard, Bryce Callahan, and Adrian Amos. They drafted David Montgomery and Riley Ridley, 2 really solid picks. I really like those picks for the Bears. I think it'll be 7. All right, so big thing we know about the Bears is that dominant front 7: Khalil Mack, Akeem Hicks, Bilal Nichols, Eddie Goldman, Roquan Smith, Danny Trevathan, and then that secondary behind them with Kyle Fuller. How do you say Prince Amakara? Is that how you say it? Amaruka?
Kamara.
Amakamara. Okay. And
Kamara, man.
Amo Kamara. Oh yeah, like Amu and then Kamara. Okay, I can see that. And then I see
Yeah.
that's where we just need to sound it out. And they also have Eddie Jackson and your favorite player, Clinton Dix. And then
Garbage.
the Bear and so the Bears' weapons are solid too. They got Allen Robinson, Taylor Gabriel, Trey Burton, David Montgomery, Tariq Cohen. The problem is, and we've said it before in past episodes, the Bears receivers are all number 2 receivers. They're all really solid receivers, just they don't have that guy to produce. And Allen Robinson might be able to be that guy. I don't know. But they just don't.
Yesterday.
I mean, yeah, he played great yesterday. I just don't know if they have that guy yet. And that is a problem. It's great when, you just need to gain some yardage because you have a bunch of number 2s, and that can create some mismatches and stuff like that. You can really take a hold of that. But when it's crunch time and you need to get down the field, you don't have that guy at least yet. And but Jordan Montgomery and Tariq Cohen, that's gonna be a really solid running game. I think as long as they can produce, they open up that passing game, and maybe you don't have to worry about that guy as much. But so I think that's a solid duo back there. But watching the Bears last night and how bad that offensive line was really has me worried about my predictions for them, because I made these predictions before the game last night. Boy, like Mitch had no time to throw whatsoever. I still think the Bears go 11-5 just because of how dominant that defense is. I don't think that's a crazy stretch of imagination whatsoever, but that's a sketchy team right now the way they looked last night. And we're back. We had to change some scenery. Well, one of us had to change some sceneries. But Matt,
On me.
we were just talking about the Bears and how bad they looked last night. Tell me about the Bears. Tell me about the Bears.
Season. I'm not gonna put a lot of stock on just what we saw freaking last night. It's the first week. He didn't play all preseason like Rodgers. About the Bears receivers not having a number 1. I think Allen Robinson can be. It's just his health is a big question.
Mm-hmm.
I think they should have stuck with Jordan Howard. I think he's a really good receiver. You got freaking defense is really good. That's going to win you a lot of games right there. I had them going 11-5 and actually winning the division.
Really?
After the game, I was like, "Oh God, are they actually going to go 11-5 with Trubisky?" But I think they still can. I don't know. We'll see if this kicker's any better than Cody Parkey. Obviously, they have Clinton Dix and they lost Adrian Amos. I think the Packers got the better end of that little exchange in free agency.
Yep.
I mean, yeah, I think the Bears are a really good team. I don't think they're really a Super Bowl contender, even when they go to the playoffs. I don't think they can make a deep play on.
All right, and we are back for a third time. We this has been our best podcast yet. We got technical difficulties. We got garbage content. We got bad internet connections. We got everything that you would ever want out of a podcast. All right, so I think I just got done talking about the Bears. I don't know if you got the input in the video, but quickly, if you want to go over the Bears really quickly, just your picks and everything.
Yeah, the Bears. Their defense is great. Freaking weapons for Mitch Trubisky. Nothing crazy. Obviously, the offensive line didn't look so good much into the first week because Trubisky didn't really have much to do in preseason. So I think they'll get better than what we saw week 1. 5 winning, going 4-2 overall in the division. Really see him doing much in the playoffs.
All right, so you have an 11-5 winning the division as a tiebreaker with the Packers. All right, now going into the Packers, let's get into this again. Boy, a lot of technical difficulties. This is great. All right, so Packers acquired Zadarius Smith, Preston Smith, Adrian Amos. I said before that Adrian Amos is my favorite safety in the league. I really like what he has to offer. They lost Randall Cobb, Muhammad Wilkerson, Nick Perry, Clay Matthews, Jake Ryan, Rashad Breeland, and lost Mike McCarthy. So that's an addition by subtraction. Drafted Rashawn Gary and Darnell Savage. And then so the Packers receiving core of Devontae Adams, Jerome Allison, and Marquise Valdes-Scantling. I think will definitely produce this year. That's a very underrated young core of players, especially with Devontae Adams as a top 10 wide receiver. And then they also have who's their tight end? Jimmy Graham's their tight end, right?
Mercedes Lewis and Ian's the third tight end.
Yeah, exactly. So another solid tight end core. That's definitely going to help you. And then your running back is Aaron Jones, who is very underappreciated, but will still definitely produce for you. But you said last time that they were just facing the Bears defense, so Aaron Jones was just getting the production that he usually would.
Right.
But so the defense is what's going to really bolster the Packers as a playoff team this year. So let's go over them. It's Darius Smith, Preston Smith, Kyle Fracker, Rashawn Gary, Kenny Clark, Blake Martinez, Adrian Amos, Darnell Savage, and Jair Alexander. I stated that Jair Alexander was probably the most young, exciting cornerback with Denzel Ward out of that last year's draft. So and the Packers just got to steal out of that. But I have the Packers going 13-3 in the NFC and taking the number 1 overall playoff spot.
Yeah, so I like your optimism. I really do. I got them going 11-5, 5, winning the final wild card spot. I like this Packers team. I like Aaron Rodgers actually having a defense for the first time since probably like 2013. Is good enough to where they're going to build chemistry with Aaron Rodgers. I think the running game is going to be really good, so we're not relying on the passing. Really good. I don't know if Mitch Trubisky is just that bad, but you know what? I'm going to freaking take it. And the Packers have a lot of tough teams play this year. Record, and I think they have a chance at going to the Super Bowl, honestly. But maybe that's just because I'm a biased Packers fan. I don't freaking know.
Now you said they got the last playoff spot, or last wild card spot. So you think there's going to be a wild card team ahead of them? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, I can see the Packers not winning the division easily with just how good the Bears are. But I'm really optimistic about the Packers this year. I think that defense is going to carry them through the playoffs. I don't know if I have my playoff bracket prediction or not. I'm still really unsure about it just because we don't know what's going to happen during trade
Mm,
deadline and injuries and stuff like that. But
right.
I do really like the Packers, and they are a legitimate team this year. They are a legitimate Super Bowl contender.
Thank God.
And they don't have Mike McCarthy, so that's obviously even a better, a better
Mike
move.
McCarthy he wasn't the worst coach. All right,
He
to
just
go. Let's say that.
so at like football and every other sport right now, every sport is moving into this new age of just like analytics and just a different way of thinking. Mike McCarthy seemed very
Hmm.
stuck in the past and just like didn't feel. I feel like he just didn't keep up with how the game was changing. Do you agree with that?
I agree. I think he the head coach again. Total failure. I just think him and Aaron. Obviously, they didn't have the best relationship,
Yeah.
and obviously the Packers aren't going to get rid of Aaron Rodgers, so McCarthy had to go.
Okay.
Appreciate him giving us a Super Bowl in 2010. So you know what,
Right.
McCarthy.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, yeah. He's definitely going to be a coach again. I don't know. Do you know? Is he doing anything right now? Is he like even like an analyst or anything? Or
Kind of taking this year off. I don't think he's doing anything.
okay, that's probably for the best.
Rumors. I know there were rumors early when all the coach firings were happening, and a lot of people were saying he was going to get a job. I know the Browns were a big talk for the freaking Mike McCarthy, but
I would have shot
fear
myself in the
off.
foot because the Browns shot themselves in the foot if they got that. But
Yeah, but I think maybe next year, even next year, we could see Mike McCarthy back.
I'm trying to think what teams would fire their head coach after this year if they didn't perform. Maybe the Vikings. Um,
Oh God, another Brett Favre freaking Packers people going to the Vikings. Jesus, man, he's gonna win Coach of the Year after that.
maybe it depends on how good or bad the Falcons do, but maybe the Falcons. We'll see. Uh, but that'll be an interesting. That'll be interesting to see where he goes. Maybe the Panthers. I don't know. I don't know what the Panthers situation is over there, but is Ron Rivera
You
still
know
the
what they're doing over
is
there.
Ron Rivera still the head coach, or did they fire him? Ron
I
Rivera.
think he's still the head coach.
He's the former head
Coach,
coach of the Panthers, so they did fire him. I don't know
I don't know.
how long ago though. It's all right. All right. So we're gonna move into the where are we at here? Where are we at? We're gonna move into the NFC South and hit the Buccaneers once again, Matt. Um, except we didn't hit on the Buccaneers too much, so we can just talk about that again. All right. So they acquired Brashad Perriman, who had a breakout year with the Browns last year. Earl Watford, Ndamukong Suh, Shaq Barrett, and Bruce Arians comes in as their head coach. They lose Ryan Fitzpatrick, Deshaun Jackson, Adam Humphries, Vinnie Curry, Gerald McCoy, and Quan Alexander. And then they drafted Devin White and Sean Bunting. I really like the Devin White draft. I think that kid's going to be a stud. But
Mm-hmm.
so we stated before that this is Jameis's biggest year. He's a free agent after this. We need to see if he's that franchise quarterback or not. Because if Jameis isn't good this year, I don't know if he gets a starting job somewhere next year. I do you, it depends because like you got
That
places.
could be the Cowboys' replacement for Dak.
There we go. All for that. All for that. Um, that might be the case. Like Mariota and Jameis this year, if they don't perform and they're in free agency, I could definitely see the Cowboys getting one of those guys. I, that's a good point, Matt. I didn't think about that, but that's a good point. But he
Yeah.
does. So the Buccaneers lost parts of an offense, and they already weren't much of an offense, but they still got Evans, Chris Godwin, O.J. Howard, who is a top 10 tight end, and Brashad Perryman once again. I don't know if this offense will be good enough. The O line definitely won't be good enough for Jameis. He was running like a chicken with his head cut off when I watched him against the Browns preseason. Once again, I know it's preseason, but that offensive line was god awful. And then and the running backs, who we said was Ronald Jones and Peyton Barber, that is a huge question mark. And honestly, not that's not the ideal running back depth chart that you want. I said the
Got
Buccaneers are.
someone else.
Yeah, I said the Buccaneers are good enough to go 8-8. I think they'll go 4-12 though. They should just tank this year and maybe tank for Tua. Who knows? But they really need to shore up that offensive line. They really need to shore up some parts of that defense because Ndamukong Suh just isn't going to cut it anymore. But so yeah, I got them going 4-12.
I got him going 5-11. I don't know. I feel like Jameis was Jameis's last opportunity. I guess he gets another one because maybe they want to tank. I don't know if that defense can do anything, especially when they're in one of the toughest divisions in the NFL. I'm just looking at this division, and all the other teams in this division are fighting for a playoff spot.
Yep.
They're going to be forced to tank because they really have no other option.
Yeah, the talent's there. Most of it is young, but you're wasting Mike Evans' prime here. I think a quick tank will really help them, and because the Falcons are starting to get over the hill. The Panthers are always a huge question mark, and the Saints are Drew Brees retiring away from not being, that dominant team. So it's a good time for the Buccaneers to just get a quick rebuild and go for it. So let's move into the Falcons. This past offseason, they acquired Jamon Brown and James Carpenter to shore up that offensive line. They lose Bruce Irving and Tevin Coleman. They drafted Chris Lindstrom, Caleb McGarry, and Kendall Sheffield. For me personally, this is Matt Ryan's prove it year. If Matt Ryan wants to be considered a top of the line quarterback, this is the year to do it.
Mm-hmm.
I've never been the biggest Matt Ryan fan. He needs to lead that team with Julio, Ridley, Sanu, and Freeman. Last year, the Falcons' defense was bad, so I get it. The Falcons weren't going to be as good. But I need to see more out of Matt Ryan this year. He has the weapons. He has the offensive line now, excuse me. He has Alex Hooper as well, who's a very consistent, solid tight end. He needs to prove it this year. So this is going to be Matt Ryan's big year, hopefully, for the Falcons. And then their defense is going to be much more improved. They were riddled with injuries last year. They get Deion Jones, Ken O'Neal, Ricardo Allen, and then they pair that with Desmond Trufant, Grady Jarrett. I want to say I think it's pronounced Foye Okloon. I think I pronounced that right. And they also get
That's better than I could do.
They also have Devondre Campbell, and last year they had a young guy, Isaiah Oliver, and Devontae Kazee, who both stepped up for them. So that defense is going to get much better paired with what can be a very dynamic offense. It just all depends on can the defense stay healthy and how well does Matt Ryan play. If both of those things go well, I see them as a 10-6 team, bidding for a playoff team, but just missing it.
All right, this is big. I think this defense. Oh yeah, I think their defense is. I'm assuming they're going to stay healthier because there's no way they could get more injured than they were last year.
Right.
A good quarterback with all the weapons he has. He's got Devontae Freeman coming back. He's still got Julio Jones, best receiver in the game. He looks really good. Number 3 option. Austin Hooper is a solid tight end. Going through their schedule, they got a pretty easy schedule. And I had them going 13-3.
Whoa! Do you have them first in the league?
No, I have them getting card spot because I think the Saints will have a record.
Holy cow! You have the Saints going at least 14-2. What? That is dude. That's a worse take than my Lions going 10-6.
Look, because I did this thing where I look through every single game and I try to predict their freaking record, and I'm looking at their schedule and I'm like, they can win a lot of these freaking games. So I'm going 13-3 because I really think they're gonna have a good year this year. So they're going 13-3 and grabbing that second wild card spot.
Man, 13-3. Dude, imagine being 13-3 and having a wild card. Whew, that's a rough one.
I look and I'm like, dang, I really had the Falcons going 13-3. But you know what? I'll stick with it. I'll freaking stick
That is a take. Holy cow. All right.
with it about it.
All right. So let's go with the Panthers here. Uh, this is going to be a really. This is the year for the Panthers. They need to prove that they're a playoff contender. Um, Cam needs to stay healthy and all that good stuff. This is the prove it year for the Panthers. If they don't do it this year, they should just tank. If they aren't competing for if they aren't competing for first in the division by week 8, they should just tank. So going into
Mm.
it, they acquired Chris Hogan, Jiro McCoy, Bruce Irvin, and Matt Paradis. They lose Devin Funchess, Matt Khalil, Ryan Khalil, Julius Peppers, Kyle Love, Thomas Davis, and Mike Adams. They drafted Brian Burns, who I really liked as a draft pick, Greg Little, who I really liked as a draft pick, and Christian Miller. They tightened up that offensive line for Cam a lot with Paradis, Greg Little, all that. So Cam has legitimate weapons now. He has Chris Hogan, DJ Moore,
Eh.
DJ Moore, who he's shown flashes of a wide receiver one, but he needs to put that all together. He obviously has McCaffrey in the backfield. He has Curtis Samuel and Greg Olson. So this is a prove-it year for Cam and the Panthers. I honestly think that if they don't do it this year, they should just tank. I I don't like the Panthers, but at the same time, it's hard to count them out. I think they can be a playoff team, and I have them going as a playoff team record because their D line is also ridiculous. They got Kawan Short, Jerome McCoy, Bruce Irving, Brian Burns, Mario Addison, with Luke Kuechly as their premier linebacker. I have them going 9-7, but that receiving core of being a question mark and Cam's health is always a question mark for the Panthers.
I'm kind of with you there. I got them going 8-8.
Okay.
I think if they're in an easier division, they could be a playoff team.
Yeah.
His health, because he's already had a little scare with the Patriots preseason. I think McCaffrey is one of the most productive running backs in the game.
Mm-hmm.
I really like DJ Moore. I think he's a really good receiver option. Curtis Samuel's another fine option. Greg Olson's a little up there in age, but I still think effective.
He's productive, yeah.
Still looks really solid. Stay healthy. It's still a solid team. I wouldn't yet. You kind of want to wait out Drew Brees, but you don't know how long he's going to stick around.
Right. You're right. That is the thing. Is how long is Drew sticking around?
Mm-hmm. I think if he wins another Super Bowl, he's done.
Oh yeah, without a doubt. I think
Could have retired 2 years ago if the freaking play didn't happen, or maybe last year if the freaking pass interference wasn't called.
They win the Super Bowl last year if that.
I really do think so.
Without a doubt. I'm so mad we didn't get that. But yeah, you're right. It all depends on Drew. Do we tank now and get better when Drew is gone, or is Drew just almost gone and we can just stick it out just a tad more, compete with the Falcons, they're not solidified. They are still a question mark. They're still really good, but they have a chance to not play great. And then also the Buccaneers, who are not going to be as big of a factor. That is a question for the Panthers: is do they stick it out and try and go for it? Or do they just tank while Drew is still there, and now once he's gone, all right, boom, now they can take over the division? It's a big question for them, and that's why I'm not an NFL GM, even though I like to play one on Twitter. It's a hard question for the Panthers are in a tough spot, but I like what they're doing. It's
a lot of good pieces.
It's just
a lot of good pieces.
It's a lot of it's a lot of good pieces with a lot of question marks over them. Is the big thing. But yeah, I got 9-7. You got 8-8. We'll see how that goes. If they are a wild card team, it surprised me a tad, but not too much. I think the NFC is just so stacked this year that it's hard for any team to make the playoffs. Besides the NFC East. All right. All right, and then finally the Saints. All right, this offseason they acquired Latavius Murray, Jared Cook, Marshall Newhouse, Ryan Groy, Nick Easton, Mario Edwards, and Malcolm Brown. They lose Mark Ingram and Max Unger. Max Unger just retired out of nowhere. They drafted Eric
Yeah.
McCoy, who I really liked, and Chancey Gardner-Johnson, who I also really liked. Um, this could be a bad year for the Saints offense.
I thought that too.
It it's weird because Breeze is another year older. Uh, Ted Ginn is a huge question mark.
Mm.
Latavius Murray, Traquan Smith, and Jared Cook need to step up. I mean, you have Michael Thomas, who is top five, maybe top three best receivers in the league, depending on who you ask. It's a weird team, and honestly, if the Saints don't make the playoffs this year, it wouldn't shock me. It, I I have them going 12-4. I have them winning their division, but they lose Sheldon Ranklins to Achilles injury. Cameron Jordan and Marcus Davenport are that line. They're more than capable with Demario Davis and AJ Klein behind them. Marcus Davenport really needs to step up this year, and I think he will. The corner defense, besides Marshawn Lattimore, is incredibly shaky. And then Von Bell and Marcus Williams are solid safeties, but they're not going to blow you out of the water. So I do have them 12-4, but that defense mixed with the a lot of question marks on the offense is again, if the Saints don't make the playoffs this year, it doesn't shock me.
So team was a team I really questioned before I was doing like predicting rec. Breeze looked a little shaky near the end of the season. Like he was right up there with Mahomes for MVP.
Mm-hmm.
Away near the end of the season. I don't know if it's because they pretty much already had a playoff spot locked. Because I mean, he is getting up. Michael Thomas. Who else do they have? I mean, Ted Ginn's getting up there in age. Traquan Smith's a question mark.
Let me look at the Saints depth chart here and just start reading off what seems like a black pit of wide
A
receivers.
receiver.
All right.
I think their defense is still solid.
Keith Kirkwood, Austin Carr, and Dante Harris are their other wide receivers. Oof.
I remember Kirkwood from last year. He had a couple touchdowns. Who's their tight end? Is it
Jared Cook?
the Patriots.
Jared Cook, and then Josh Hill.
Oh yeah, they got Cook. Okay, Cook's a
Cook.
That's actually a solid tight end if he can stay healthy.
Mm-hmm. Cook's a very solid tight end. But
I like that.
Yeah, then that will definitely help. But
Kamara, who I think is really good. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I forgot to add Kamara into my wrap. Kamara's a top 5 running back. But there's a lot of question marks for the Saints this year. I still think they win their division. But it'll be interesting to watch. That's going to be
going 14-2.
You have them going 14-2. Oh my goodness.
This is a team. This is another team that actually had a decent schedule.
Yeah.
Still think Drew Brees has another solid year in him.
I do too.
I think Latavius Murray can fill Mark Ingram's role fine.
Oh yeah, I do too.
Solid. Saints last year though. I really do think this is their year, or they're not going to win a Super Bowl with Brees.
Yeah, I agree. This is the year for the Saints. That needs
they really should have.
That needs to sink into their mind. This is the year. It's Super Bowl or no more. And they got Jacoby Brissett behind them, so the outlook for Teddy Bridgewater.
Teddy Bridgewater, yeah.
They got Teddy Bridgewater behind him. I think the passing of the torch from Brees to Bridgewater is obviously going to disappoint some fans. Bridgewater isn't going to produce right away. I really like Teddy Bridgewater. I think he's going to be a very fine NFL quarterback. I think he'll even be maybe a top 15 quarterback once he gets his bearings straight and everything. I really like what Teddy Bridgewater has to offer, but it's going to disappoint some fans because they're going from Hall of Famer, maybe one of the best 5 quarterbacks the game has ever seen, Drew Brees, to Teddy Bridgewater. But yeah, I still think the Saints make the playoffs, but it wouldn't surprise me if they didn't. All right, going into it.
14-2, folks.
What's that?
14-2.
14-2. That is.
I'm over here talking about how much of a question mark they are, and I got them going
14-2. Oh,
I guess we'll see.
like I said, that's a higher take than my Lions take right there. All right. So NFC
And,
West time. We have the 49ers. They acquired Tevin Coleman, Jordan Matthews, Ben Garland, Wesley Johnson, D Ford, Quan Alexander, and Jason Verrett. They lost Alfred Morris and Pierre Garcon. They excuse me. They drafted Nick Bolsa, Debo Samuel, and Jalen Hurd, who it was a huge dual threat or kind of triple threat player in college. He rushed for over 1,200 yards in 2015, and then eclipsed 1,000 yards receiving in 2018. Uh, this dude's big enough to play wide receiver. He's good enough to play running back, and he's big enough to play tight end as well. So he's a really interesting piece. I really like that pick for the for the 49ers, and he runs a 4.6 as well, so he's perfect for Shanahan's offense. But so yeah, the 49ers drafted a bunch of toys for Kyle Shanahan to pair with Jimmy Garoppolo. They already had Dante Pettis, who really showed up well with Nick Mullins last year. They have Marquise Goodwin and Matt Breida, who Matt Breida also saved my fantasy team last year. And then you put in Tevin Coleman and Jordan Matthews. That's a lot of fun pieces for Kyle Shanahan's offense. As a
mm,
Browns fan, I got to watch Shanahan's offense in 2014, and it made Brian Hoyer look like a Pro Bowler. Um, so that was the that is what Shanahan brings to the table. It all depends again on Garoppolo. We saw Garoppolo when he's with the Patriots look great, and then by the end of the year with the 49ers look great. But we also saw Garoppolo last year where he didn't look incredible when before he got injured. He didn't look like a franchise quarterback.
mm.
So that'll be interesting to see with Garoppolo. The 49ers defense is in horrible shape. They have Bosa and added Ford around DeForest Buckner and Quan Alexander. That's really solid, but it the defense has an injury. It has an injury bug. Like uh, Richard Sherman is their only reliable secondary person. They also brought in Jason Verrett, but he's their only reliable secondary person, and Richard Sherman is not. It shouldn't be your only reliable guy. So I have the Niners going a disappointing 8-8 for them this year.
Hmm. All right, so I really want to see a lot of Garoppolo because we've been a rookie since what, like 2014.
Mm-hmm.
Played like at most or something in a year, full season. Because I'm not going to count him out yet, and I'm not going to praise him for being a franchise quarterback already.
Right.
Solid running game with Tevin Coleman. Had a really good year last year. I think they have some solid weapons. Their defense is had them going 4-12, but shows him maybe 9-7. I don't know. I don't think the Niners I don't think this year's the year. I think they still have some rebuilding to do.
So you cut out there, but you said the Niners go 4-12.
12. I'm just not
Wow.
Garoppolo or putting a lot of faith into him right now.
Okay, I can definitely see that. This is another team where if they go 4-12 is a stretch, but with that how bad that defense is,
Yeah.
that's I could see that. If they go like 6-10, or if they're also competing with a playoff for the playoffs in like week 15, that doesn't surprise me either. This is a very volatile team, but I think 8-8, middle of the road, might just be a cop out for me. But you do bring up some good points that we need to maybe slow the brakes a little bit. But
But if Garoppolo really shows, I mean, this is a solid team.
yeah, and that's the thing. Like,
Like,
will he show?
yeah.
He's coming off an ACL injury. Like, he wasn't known as a running quarterback, but he was known as a quarterback who could make plays with his legs. And who knows how that ACL injury is going to affect that. But like, he didn't look great before he got injured last year. So that's the thing, is how will Garoppolo show up?
I really want to see him play a full year because
Yeah.
we haven't seen it yet.
Right. We
So
seen
I
we
mean,
seen we seen him
this
fill in
this
for
is
Brady. We seen him like
mhm,
the few games for the 49ers when he got traded, and then the few games last year before he got injured. So
yeah.
you're right. It all depends on him, and I don't know if they have Nick Mullins again, but Nick Mullins is a fine backup quarterback.
They have
Um,
C.J. Beathard too.
okay, so like their backup quarterbacks aren't bad, but
Solid backups, but I mean, you can't rely on them to win you games.
no.
They'll be in games, but
No.
that's about it.
All right, let's move into one of the more talked about teams, a team I am not big on at all, the Arizona Cardinals. So they added Charles Clay, Marcus Gilbert, J.R. Sweezy, Max Garcia, Brooks Reed, Darius Fillion, Terrell McClain, Terrell Suggs, Jordan Hicks, and Robert Alford. They lost Mike. I think I want to say his name is pronounced Apuda. It's their big guard. They lost Rodney Gunter, Olson Pierre, Marcus Golden, Josh Byron's, Deion Buchanan, Gerald Hodges, Trey Boston, and Antone Betha.
Antoine Bethea.
Antoine Bethea. Thank you. Um, Cardinals. I've never been a big fan of. I don't like Kyler Murray that much. I don't like Cliff Kingsbury that much. Um, so I've never been a guy who likes the short quarterback criticism, but Kyler Murray is a short quarterback. Like he is a he gets towered over everybody. He looks like a kid whenever he's out there with everybody else. At least
Mm.
like honestly, at least Johnny looked like he somewhat belonged, and Baker Mayfield is a stocky boy, so he looks fine when he's there. But Kyler Murray, he's a small guy. Like
Some time. He's still young.
yeah, he's still young enough to maybe like grow a couple inches as well. I don't know, but like I he I don't know. Like I'm not a huge fan of him. He has a dynamite arm, and that Cliff Kingsbury offense does fit him well. But that's the thing is that offense is different. So they have uh, they have Larry Fitz, they have Christian Kirk, who are really reliable route runners. They have David Johnson, who's a threat in the backfield, even though he is injury prone, and he's only really ever had one good year. But they also drafted um, Andy Isabella and Hakeem Butler, who really fit in that Kingsbury offense, who can just blow the lid off the defense. So those are two solid picks that I really like. The thing is, with that offensive line, it could ruin it all. If Kyler doesn't have a good offensive line, he is not going to last this season. He will get injured right away, and just because of how small he is, and that offensive line is already shaky, but it could ruin some things completely for him. I do like some of the things that the Cardinals did. Patrick Peterson finally got a partner in crime with Byron Murphy and Robert Alford, and they're going to fill in for him while he's serving that suspension. And they also have Butta Baker and DJ Swearinger behind them, two very comparable safeties. And then Jordan Hicks and Darius Fillion on the front of their D line. They need for those guys to step up, which I think they will. Jordan Hicks is a dynamite player on the D line, and that'll allow that secondary to strive. I
Mm.
just don't like that team. Like I think they go 5-11, and honestly, I think I'm being generous with that.
Generous too. I got him going 2-14.
Yeah, I don't
Here,
like them.
I even legit like even if Kyler Murray's the next Russell Wilson, that offensive line is a big question on their defense. I mean, Terrell Suggs, how old is he?
Like 72.
Mention Alfred. I think he was a solid corner for the Fitzgerald his entire career. Christian Kirk, I think, is fine. David Johnson, if he can stay healthy, he's a fine running back. Going to kill him. That defense is not going to do him any favors. It's another tank year. I think they need to get more weapons for Kyler. I'm not sold on this Cardinals team, and I think it's going to be rough, even if Kyler Murray shows being a good quarterback.
Yeah, I agree. So the thing with Christian Kirk is I think that guy's an absolute stud. I think once Larry Fitz retires, which I don't know if he said this is his last year or not, but once he does retire, I think we'll see Christian Kirk strive. He's definitely a much more slot receiver. They got Larry Fitz playing the slot, so Christian Kirk's playing the outside. But once he can get in there with who are the guys that I just said they added? Andy Isabella and Hakeem Butler. That's going to be, I think, a legitimately young, solid receiving core, and Christian Kirk's going to be the main guy of that. And I really like that receiving core, but this is just not the year for it. If they do tank and bolster up their offensive line, maybe the Cardinals are a legit middle of the road team next year, and then they add a few more pieces on defense, and maybe they're looking pretty good then. But I just don't see him right now. I'm not a fan of Kingsbury. I'm not a fan of Kyler Murray. Um, I like Kyler Murray. I hope he can do well, but I just don't think he will.
Game.
All right, and we're finally moving in to the NFC champions, the most boring team to ever play a Super Bowl, the Los Angeles Rams. Uh, they added the geriatric Clay Matthews and Eric Weddle. They lost C.J. Anderson, Roger Saffold, John Sullivan, Ndamukong Suh, Dominic Easley, Mark Barron, and Lamarcus Joyner. They drafted Taylor Rapp, who I really like. They drafted Daryl Henderson, who I really like. They also drafted David Long, Bobby Evans, and Greg Gaines, who I think Greg Gaines is going to really step in there and produce right away. This season's all going to depend on Jared Goff, if he is just a system game managing quarterback or if he's a franchise quarterback, which I don't think he is. He's got it.
Plug my charger in.
What's that?
Just keep going. I gotta plug my laptop charger in real.
All right. So yeah. So the Rams have a dynamic receiving core of Cooper Kupp, Brandon Cooks, Robert Woods, and they also have Daryl Henderson, and obviously Todd Gurley is last year was one of the, if not the best running back in the league. I know he's had some injury problems, but um, I still think Todd Gurley is going to produce. He better produce because he's on my fantasy team, and he's my RB1. So, but I still think he's going to produce. That D line is still electric with Aaron Donald, Michael Brockers, and then they just drafted Greg Gaines. He's not going to immediately replace Sue, but he's going to step in and be an immediate impact. The secondary is a massive, massive question mark. They have Eric Weddle. They drafted Taylor Rapp and David Long. But that secondary is rough. I don't know. I would not trust that if I was the Rams. I would see if I can't trade for someone else. But they have the best special teams duo in the league with Greg Zuerlein and Johnny Hecker. Special teams definitely last year showed that it might be. It's so important to the game that I think people kind of overlooked it, and last year kind of shined a light with how many bad kickers there were and everything. And then as a Browns fan, I know how important it is punting the ball because I had to watch punting for about 20 years. So I know how important punting the ball is, and Johnny Hecker's great at that. I had the Rams going 11-5. I have them winning the division with that, but I think the Rams are just going to be a disappointing team that gets smoked first round of the playoffs.
I actually agree. I don't think this team. I think they had their chance to win a Super Bowl, and they really. But I got them going 10-6. Much right where you were. They're in a decent divisions.
They have a division they can easily beat up on.
Yeah, their secondary question mark. Hopefully, Todd Gurley can stay healthy. I know he already has arthritis in his knees.
Yeah.
But Goff's got a lot of weapons, so it's really on him to produce. I mean, Cooper Kupp's coming back from injury. You got Brandon Cooks, who's a solid receiver.
Robert Woods.
Great year last year.
Yeah.
A tight end. They picked up from my Packers, who he's fine. I wouldn't every down linebacker, but luck with him. Hope.
So you cut out there. Who did you say they picked up from your Packers?
Matthews. He's
Clay Matthews. Okay.
I wouldn't have them. I'd have him playing maybe 60% of the snaps. I wouldn't.
Yeah.
Freak down.
I agree. Did we talk about? Or you said you had them going 10-6, right? Uh, Matt, you have them going 10-6. Okay. All right. Did we talk about the Seahawks? I just realized.
Talked
Oh,
about them yet?
okay. All right. So we'll talk about the Seahawks to finally round out the NFC West. So this offseason they acquired Mike Lupati. That keeps the offensive line somewhat stable. Russell Wilson isn't going to run for his life every time he's back there. Only probably about 70% of the time he's back there now. And then they also got Jadeveon Clowney from the Texans. Uh, I don't. What do you think about that trade, Matt? Because I think the Texans are stupid, but I think. Do you think they got fleeced, or
Texans are dumb.
do you think they got fleeced though?
Sounded like Clowney play for them. I think Clowney's a really solid player. Just overall hype, freaking the greatest ever.
Yeah,
Was kind of like Williams. Mario Williams was a little better than Jadeveon Clowney, but problems. I think that's a fine pickup for the Seahawks move on their part.
yeah. That linebacking core is ridiculous now with Jadeveon Clowney. But I agree. I think Jadeveon Clowney's always been a little overrated. He was honestly a bust like his first few years, and he's finally turned it around. Uh, I so they lost. So the Seahawks lost Doug Baldwin. They lost Frank Clark. They lost Justin Coleman, and technically they lost Earl Thomas. But and then they drafted L.J. Collier. They drafted Marquise Blair, who I really like. They drafted D.K. Metcalf, which is a huge question mark, and they also drafted the linebacker Cody Barton. Uh, the offense not named Wilson, Carson, or Lockett. Those are all huge question marks. DJ Metcalf really has to show up. They lost Doug Baldwin to retirement and everything, so that's Russell Wilson's favorite target. It's a huge question mark for them. That offensive line is still bad, and I'm trying to think of who the other running back is for the Seahawks. Um, they
Rashad Penny, I think.
Yep, Rashad Penny. Yep, thank you very much. He needs to step up as well. It just can't be Chris Carson carrying the load. And Tyler Lockett has to turn into a number one receiver this year. I think he can, but he has to turn into one. It's a tough time for the Seahawks, and it's just as bad on the defense because you have Bobby Wagner, KJ Wright, and Jadeveon Clowney as your linebacking core. Really, really solid guys, but you also have Shaquem Griffin and Marquise Blair as your secondary, and that's incredibly rough secondary. They're trying to recreate the Legion of Boom and everything, but I don't think they ever will. Defense looks really bad for the Seahawks. I have them going a very disappointing 6-10 instead of keeping it going. What they could have been such a big dynasty, but Pete Carroll didn't run the ball on the 1 yard line, and that really tore it all apart. And I have the Seahawks going 6-10, and it's going to be incredibly disappointing because the Seahawks have good players, but they have a lot of question marks and they have a lot of needs that need to be filled.
Yeah. I thought last year the Seahawks weren't even be in the playoff discussion, and they somehow and really was like freaking dominating that and carrying that team. I got them going 8-8 this year, missing the playoffs. To count out Russell Wilson, I think he can win some games by of how he is. I don't think in rushing yards with their like 3-headed monster. I don't think they can replicate that. Godwin's a huge loss. I think he was a great weapon. I'm not really sold that Tyler Lockett can be your number one receiver. I still think he's a solid receiver, but you're going to need more. Russell Wilson needs more protection and isn't as great as it was. I think they're a solid team. They can beat some really good teams, but playoff team.
Russell Wilson's a top 5 quarterback in the league, and he would have to just play the greatest season ever by a quarterback to even make them a playoff contender. The Seahawks are not.
Surprise me, Russell Wilson's really good.
Yeah, but
I can't predict them to make the playoffs when they just don't have the team for it.
they don't. All right, let's move into the AFC. We have the let's first start off with the Dolphins, who
God.
boy do they suck. They acquired Ryan Fitzpatrick,
Yeah.
Mark Walton, Dwayne Allen, who is a fine tight end, Clive Walford, Chris Reed, Eric Rowe, and they also had Josh Rosen. They lost Tannehill. They lost Laramie Tunsil, and just they got a lot out of Laramie Tunsil, so I understand it. But that offensive line just got so much worse. Um, they lost Kenny Stills, so they lost their number one wide receiver. They lost Frank Gore. They lost Danny Amendola. They lost Juan James and Josh Sitton, Cameron Wake, Robert Quinn, and William Hayes.
Ugh.
I don't see one good part on this team besides maybe their defensive line, but besides that, they're really, really bad. They got Christian Wilkes. They drafted Andrew Von Ginkel as well and Michael Dieter. This team is horrible. This team is the definition of tank. Uh, the secondary is fine with Xavier Howard, Eric Rowe, Rashad Jones, and Eric McLean. It's fine. It's a very average, middle of the road secondary. But I have this team going 1-5, and I feel just so bad for Josh Rosen
One in
because,
five. They only play
or
6 games.
I'm sorry, 1-15. Um, but no, I just feel bad for Josh Rosen that he has to go through this again. Um, and Devontae Parker, or yeah, Devontae Parker is his only wide receiver threat. So fun times for the Dolphins.
What this? You ready?
All right, let's hear it.
You ready? I got a lot more optimism. Dolphins
You do?
when
You have them going 2-14. Wow.
they suck. That's a hot take, right? But yeah, they have to play the Patriots twice. They get to play the Bills twice, so maybe they can sneak a win there.
Yeah, they get to play the Bills and the Jets. There has to be a win in there somewhere.
See how the Jets go, but the only positive thing I can say about the Dolphins is they have Jerome Baker, and I really like Jerome Baker. I thought he stud for Ohio State.
Jerome Baker.
He had a solid rookie year.
Yeah.
I liked Kenny Stills. I thought he was a solid receiver to throw to, but now I don't know. They're obviously tanking this year, so yeah, 2-14. Go get Tua, guys, or don't, because then you're gonna ruin him too. Because like, what is he gonna do on this team? It's a disaster. I don't know what the Dolphins are doing.
Yeah, I mean, you did hit on Jerome Baker, and they also have Raekwon McMillan. They have the two Buckeyes and the linebackers, and those are two solid players. But man, that team is horrible. If they
Say nice about him.
yeah, no, Mama said if you got nothing nice to say, don't say nothing at all. But we can move into a team that I actually have a lot of nice things to talk about. The Bills, and
Ooh.
so they acquired about half of the free agents available. They got Frank Gore, John Brown, Cole Beasley, Tyler Croft, Lee Smith, Ty Neshek, Adrian Waddle, John Felicio, Quentin Spain, Mitch Morse, Spencer Long, Eli Harold, Kevin Johnson, EJ Gaines, and Maurice Alexander. They only lost Charles Clay, Logan Thomas, Jordan Mills, and John Miller. They drafted Ed Oliver, who I don't know how they got, but that dude is a stud. They got Cody Ford. They got Devin Singletary, who I know they really like. I really like. They also got Dawson Knox. So they upgraded their tight ends. So that'll be solid for Josh Allen to overthrow. And they also have their, they also applied their O line with Mitch Morse and Cody Ford, and they now have a deep threat in John Brown and Cole Beasley as a slot guy on third down, so he'll be a solid target.
Ugh.
They got Devin Singletary from FAU out of the third round. I think that's going to be a great pickup for them, especially replacing Shady McCoy. And I will be nice about Josh Allen. I think he's going to have a better year this year than he did last year.
I agree.
His offensive line is better. I guess his weapons are better, and his form does look better. A big problem with Josh Allen was he's pulling his hip out a lot, and he was just throwing a bunch of wild passes. But I think Josh Allen will be better. I still think he sucks, but he will be a better version of sucks. I'd rather have Josh Allen on my team than Dak Prescott. I can tell you that much. Um,
Oh shoot, man!
but I think this defense will carry this team though. They have the number. Last year they had number two defensive efficiency. So they added Ed Oliver. They have Harrison Phillips, Jerry Hughes, Shaq Lawson, and then they have a dynamite safety duo of Michael Hyde and Jordan Poyer. I have the Bills going 7-9 this year, and I'm gonna. I think they're an interesting team to watch.
I think there's one. I definitely think he's going to have a better year. I think you can be more last year. Decent threat with his legs. Tom McCoy's gone, but they obviously see something in Devin Singletary. They're running back in Frank Gore, who in the league. I'm amazed at it, but you know what? I'm a fan of Frank Gore, so good for him.
Yeah, exactly.
The Packers would have paid Micah Hyde a few years ago because he's
He's a stud.
freaking. I had him going 4-12.
Okay, yeah, that's fair.
Depending on Josh Allen's going to do, how much do you think this defense is going to freaking save him?
I think they play in such a weak division that I feel like they can sneak some games out as well, though.
Yeah, they're 2 wins better than the Dolphins, but I just think they're, as a franchise, they're on a better track.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, I can see the Bills maybe in 2 years. Tom Brady retires, and they could make some moves. Like, they got a solid team.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and as long as they keep that defense somewhat formidable, and if they can find like a wide receiver one and give Josh Allen a chance, that maybe, but
They're an interesting team to watch.
they are a very interesting team. Boom or bust definitely describes the Bills. Out of all the teams, boom or bust definitely describes the Bills. All right, let's move into maybe the Patriots' only real competitor this year, the Jets.
Mm-hmm.
So the Jets added, where are my notes at here? So the Jets added Le'Veon Bell, Ty Montgomery, Jamison Crowder, Josh Bellamy. Who else did they add? They added C.J. Mosley, Brian Poole. They lost Isaiah Crowell, Andre Roberts, Morris Claiborne, and then they also drafted Quinnen Williams. They drafted I don't know how to pronounce this guy's name, but I know his last name's Polite. They drafted Chuma Idgoa and Trevin Wilco and Blake Cashman. So this is going to be a weird year for the Jets as well. I think I have them going 7-9 as well. I just don't think they're good enough to take charge yet. They're not good enough to take a charge at the playoffs. Their receivers still aren't great at all. Uh, Last year, their top receiver was Robbie Anderson, who uh, he's a wide receiver two on some teams, maybe not even most teams. But they did add Jamison Crowder. They obviously added Le'Veon Bell, who I'm not as high on as everybody else is. But that offensive line is looking pretty solid, at least solid enough to give Darnold some time. And I really like Darnold. Last year when I was watching Darnold play the Browns, it was his third game of his career. It was Monday night premiere time, and he did struggle, but he made a lot of plays where I was like, that kid is going to be a franchise quarterback for the next 15 years. I have all the faith in Sam Darnold. I'm big Colin Cowherd guy on that one. But but no, I do like Darnold. I think he will be a stud, even though if he looks like the Heat miser from the movie The Year Without Santa Claus. Um, and also that defense looks pretty good as well. That defensive line looks really good. The linebackers and secondaries look fine. They added C.J. Mosley, who is a stud. Who else do they have? They have Jordan Jenkins and Brandon Copeland, who are fine. But they added that. I'm going to try and pronounce it. I think it's Joshie Polite, but I could be completely wrong on that. They have Quinnen Williams, who I think is going to be really solid up the gut. And they have Jamal Adams and Marcus May, who are some solid safeties for the Jets. So I like the Jets this year. I just don't think that they're going to. They also have Avery Williamson, but I just don't think they're going to compete this year. Give them one more year, and they'll give the AFC East with like a bunch of teams without Tom Brady. I think Tom Brady's last year, but they're going to give the AFC East a solid eight.
Oh shoot!
They're going to give them a solid 8-8 run for the playoffs next year. So, but they're going 7-9 this year.
Up. Sam Darnold. I think he's going to have a really solid year. He's got better protection than he had last year. Because he didn't have any weapons really last year. Ty Montgomery's a fine second running back when he's not fumbling the kick return to give you the loss against the Rams that would have turned your entire season around and maybe would have got the Packers. But whatever. Jason Crowder's a good receiver to add. I think that not putting everyone on Robbie Anderson's a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
Defense is really solid. I actually had him going 9-7.
Really?
In the playoffs, but playoff conversation for most of the year.
Okay.
But
yeah, I could definitely see
I think
that.
they can sneak in a win against the Patriots too. But
yeah, that's not a hot take by any means. I can definitely see that. But yeah, no.
Like they're in a good direction.
They are.
Like they're the front runners to take over this division once Tom Brady retires.
I think
if he retires, I don't know.
If he retires, I think they will. Father Time is always undefeated, but I think the Jets just need to still add that wide receiver one to the team.
Yeah.
I don't know if they're getting that through the draft or through free agency, but
Antonio Brown.
Oh my God! Could you imagine if they got Antonio Brown and Le'Veon Bell on this team again? Oh, I would love that so much.
Hilarious.
Oh, that would be. Oh, and just to hear, I'd love to hear just reporters ask Belichick about that just every single week, just because they're in the division.
Sign Ben Roethlisberger as a backup.
Oh, I would love that so much. All right,
so I want it to happen.
Let's move. Let's move into the Patriots. It's obvious they're going to win this division this year. They added Maurice Harris.
It's not even a question.
Dontrell Inman, Michael Bennett, John Simon, Jamie Collins, Terrence Brooke. They lost Chris Hogan, Dwayne Allen, Trent Brown, Trey Flowers, Eric Rowe, and Cordell Patterson. They drafted N'Keal Harry, who I really like. They also got Chase Winovich, who is kind of hit or miss. They got Damian Harris, who I like. Yandy Kajus is a really solid offensive tackle for them to pick up in the draft. But this is going to be an interesting time. Father Time is always undefeated, but Father Time may have a tough battle this year. I don't know if Brady's gonna do it this year. You know, I've always been not a Brady hater, but not a Brady lover. We talked about that.
Yeah.
They don't have Gronk this year. They have Josh Gordon coming back, I guess. It's such a weird team. Like that. I don't know about that team. I don't know if they're good enough to last in the playoffs. You know, that offensive line's good. It really depends on if Josh Gordon can come back. You know, James White and who am I missing? As their other running back? You cut out for me, so I don't even get the answer from you either.
Sony Michel.
Sony Michel. Thank you very much. Sony Michel. That's a really solid running back duo. Good receiving backs for Brady to dink and dunk to. But you know, I think the Patriots win this division like they've won every division the last few years, just because the division isn't great. I think they get blown out of the water the first playoff game, whoever it is.
Oh shoot!
I still have them going 12-4, 11-5, somewhere around there. But this is gonna be they're not gonna be first seed. They're gonna be second seed. They're still gonna get a bye for playoffs. But yeah. All right. And
you ready for this?
All right, let's hear it. Yeah.
2, baby.
You just cut out on your
14-2.
14-2. Holy cow!
Number 1 seed. They got 6. They have 4 easy wins, but goes to the Dolphins somehow. Goes to the Dolphins. But honestly, I think this team is better than last year's team. I think you got solid weapons. Josh Gordon for now. back. I think that's a really good throw too. I really think is a great running back. James White's a great weapon, solid weapon in this offense. Ben Watson, once he comes back from suspension, I think their defense is a little better than it was last year. I'm not picking them to go to the Super Bowl this year. I see them in the again.
You see him in the championship
So
game again. I don't know. I think they get blown out of the water by any other playoff team. I don't like the Patriots at all this year, dude. I really don't.
they're better than last year.
They got lucky last year. They faced
What?
they faced a Colts team that was not performing at all in the playoffs, and then they won a game because D Ford couldn't stay on sides.
Colts were like the hottest team in the NFL at the
Yeah,
time.
but they didn't perform that game. And I'm giving the Patriots zero credit. I'm giving the Colts all the discredit on that one. They just played a bad game. I refuse to give the Patriots any credit whatsoever when it comes to anything. All
Tom
right.
Brady's last year.
Yeah, I think this is Tom Brady's last year.
No.
I think whatever playoff game he plays in, he's gonna get banged up a lot, and he's gonna be like, all right, I can't do this anymore.
I give up predicting Tom Brady's last year. I thought he was done 3 years ago, but
I thought he was done.
I thought he was done
last year.
I thought he was done when he came back against the Falcons. I thought that was like the perfect way to retire.
Right,
but
exactly.
you got another Super Bowl out of it, so I can't really.
I thought Brady last year when he won the Super Bowl, he was going to kiss Papa John, talk about drinking Budweiser, and then retire after the Super Bowl. But he didn't go the way of Peyton, and I don't know. I think it's his last year, but if it's not his last year, then I don't know when his next last year is going to be. All right, so let's move into other quarterbacks that look like the Heat miser. The Cincinnati Bengals. Cincinnati Bengals are just really, really bad this year. They got John Miller, Kerry Wynn, and B.W. Webb as their free agency ads. I like what the Bengals are doing there. They have a lot of cap space, and they're not spending it. They're only spending it on like pieces that they need to just make sure all their players are healthy and they fit needs, so they just don't get absolutely blown out of the water every time. Excuse me.
Mm-hmm.
They lost Tyler Kroft, Jake Fisher, Vontez Burfict. Oh my, excuse me. I'm sorry about that. But besides that, their draft picks: Jonah Williams, Drew Sample, Jermaine Pratt. They got Michael Jordan out of Ohio State, Rennell Wren. They're really trying to shore up that offensive line for whatever quarterback they probably pick next year in the draft. I think next year is finally the year they pick a quarterback in the draft, I guess. I don't know. I thought it was going to be Haskins this year because I don't – and I get it. You need to get linemen. And, like, Jonah Williams is a really fine lineman, but they need to get that quarterback because Andy Dalton is bad at football. And I think that's a nice way to state that. Their receiving core is still solid with A.J. Green and Tyler Boyd and John Ross, who I think is going to step it up a little bit this year. But besides that, like, who knows about Eifert? Apparently, Eifert is coming back, which I don't know how he is after that leg injury last year. They're shoring up that offensive line. Their defense is fine. Their secondary is horrible. But their defense is fine. They got guys like Sam Hubbard up at the front, Ryan Gaslow, and Carlos Dunlap. But besides that, like, I don't know. I think the Bengals go 4-12 this year, and they finally get that quarterback, maybe, but I don't know.
Me?
What's that? You keep cutting out.
Because it says I'm disconnected.
Oh, yeah, no, we can hear you. You're still there.
Oh, yeah. Bengals are a fine time to get disconnected, I guess, but they're trash. Andy Dalton's still their quarterback. They're really killing A.J. Green, Eifert.
They also have Joe Mixon, who I will say.
And I like Joe Mixon.
I really like Joe Mixon.
Because that offensive line isn't doing much, and oh god, there's no passing game. I don't
Yeah.
know what I had the bank. I think I got them going 4-12 this year. They're in a
Okay.
tough division and they're doing much.
I think the Bengals would honestly be better if they just traded for Nick Mullins right now. Like they're in a better spot if they just trade for Nick Mullins over just starting Andy Dalton, unless they want to tank. And then in which if they want to tank, then they're in a good
They
spot
should tank.
because they have Andy Dalton. But
Yeah.
the Bengals are never going to be ran the right way because they have Paul Brown's son Mike Brown as the owner, and he is probably the worst
Mhm.
owner in the league besides Dan Snyder. So we that'll be fun for them. All right, let's move into the Pittsburgh Steelers. Um, they another really weird team in the AFC North. So they added Dante Moncrief as their wide receiver too. Wow, and they also have Mark Barron and Steve Nelson from free agency. They lost Le'Veon Bell, Antonio Brown, Jesse James, Marcus Gilbert, L.J. Fort, and Morgan Burnett. And they drafted Devin Bush, Deontay Johnson, Justin Lane, who I really like, Benny Snell, who I really like, and Zach Gentry. This is going to be a defining season for Ben Roethlisberger. If he succeeds, it shows he's one of the best quarterbacks of all time. If he doesn't succeed, it shows why he is the locker room cancer that just no one ever talks about. Uh, he drives out Antonio Brown and Le'Veon Bell. Part of the Steelers front office and Mike Tomlin also did part of that, but Big Ben was also a big reason for that. They have Juju Smith-Schuster as their wide receiver one. I don't know if Juju's ready for that yet. And having Dante Moncrief as your wide receiver two is not great. They have Vance McDonald as their tight end. He's really solid. And James Conner had a roller coaster of a year last year. And as a roller coaster, it literally meant he just went up and then just dropped straight down. As a Browns fan, I'm really excited to just see the derailment of the Pittsburgh Steelers, and it's going to be fun. But I still think they're a playoff team this year at 9-7. Their offensive line is still pretty solid. Their defensive line is still really good. They have young guys like T.J. Watt as well, who I really like. But besides that, like I'm all for the derailment of the Pittsburgh Steelers. I can't wait.
All right, you're not gonna like this,
I don't.
but
I don't.
I'm winning the division again. I
Okay.
think this is their last.
The last
This is
hurrah.
it for Big Ben. Yeah, this is it for Big Ben.
You think
They still have a solid
career wise, or just like greatness wise?
on top of the NFC or AFC North. This
Okay.
is it for them. Still is good enough. Weapons. I think James Conner's fine. Juju's going to be fine as the number one. I think Moncrief isn't as bad as you. I still think he's a solid receiver.
I don't know if
Vance
he's wide
McDonald, I
receiver
think,
two
is
though.
he's better at wide receiver 3, but I think this offense he'll manage. Vance McDonald's I really like their defense. I really liked how they drafted.
Yeah, I mean Cam Hayward, Devin Bush, Stephon Tuitt, like that D line is still really good.
I have them going 5
11
and
and 5.
winning the division.
Okay. All right, I could definitely see that. Um,
But this is their last year.
yeah, I agree. I agree. Um, Also, they recently gave Joe Hayden like 12 million a year.
Too much
It should just get burnt by Odell Beckham Jr. For the next 2 years.
to
So
call him for interference calls because he had like 3 or 4 of those last year where they were terrible calls.
I despise Joe Hayden, but we're gonna go ahead and I despise Joe Hayden before he left the Browns. That's how much I despise Joe Hayden.
It was awful.
Yeah, he was awful. All right, let's talk about Mr. Wheels and the Baltimore Ravens. They got Mark Ingram. They got Shane Ray. They got Pernell McPhee. They got Justin Bethel and Earl Thomas. They lose Joe Flacco, the most elite quarterback. They lose John Brown. They lose Michael Crabtree. They lose Brett Urban, Zadarius Smith, Terrell Suggs, C.J. Mosley, and Eric Weddle. Ravens lost a lot this year, and I don't know how they're going to be. Having Earl Thomas back there in safety, as long as he can perform the way he was, you're going to be just fine. But he's still a question mark. The running back game with Mark Ingram is going to be really solid, especially with Lamar Jackson there. They got Marquise Brown in the draft, who Marquise Brown is my favorite receiver in the draft, Hollywood Brown. Um, they lose Michael Crabtree, which is a addition by subtraction. They do lose. Yeah, I don't like Crabtree at all. But besides that, like they lost a lot and they did not gain a lot. I don't know. Their offensive line is fine. They have right tackle Orlando Brown and left tackle Ronnie Stanley, and they also have Marshall Yanda, who are all really solid. I do like those. They have problems on their inner right side with their guard and center, but I don't know. I just don't like the Ravens this year. I think they go 8-8, which
Mm-hmm.
it all depends on how the teams just adjust for Lamar Jackson. I think Lamar Jackson's going to be better this year as a passer. I really do. I don't think he's going to be great though, and he's still going to be running a lot.
Yeah.
And as long as the Ravens face a team like the Jets, where they have Greg Williams as their defensive coordinator, they'll be just fine. But other defensive coordinators who are actually good and know how to adjust to the game and don't play their safeties about 50 yards back, instead put them in the box where Lamar Jackson can't strive, maybe, just maybe, Lamar Jackson won't have as good as a year. I don't know. Good luck, Jets.
So, yeah, for the most part, I have the Ravens also going 8-8. The playoff hunt of this season, it's going to be a roller coaster year. I think there's going to be some games where Lamar Jackson has some solid passing performances, and then there's just going to be some games where he's completely exposed.
Yeah,
They take away the run from him, and he's forced to pass, and I think we saw that last year too. Ingram's going to add some stabilization to their running game. And their defense was so good last year, and they lost so many pieces. And defense, tier defense now, like it was elite, like top 5 defense. Now oh man, that's going to hurt them.
Especially C.J. Mosley. Like C.J. Mosley was such a
C.J. Mosley's a beast.
He's such a cornerstone of their defense that, man, you lose him, you lose Darius Smith. Like, Terrell Suggs is old, and so is Eric Weddle.
You
but
couldn't even keep Suggs.
Like, they still contribute. Yeah, Suggs was a lifetime Raven, and you still couldn't keep them. I don't know. It's a weird team. They're gonna definitely have an up and down team. I think 8-8 is generous.
It really is.
I still think they are in the playoff race, but I don't know. It's gonna be interesting.
They're not a playoff team.
All right, and I'll quickly I'll quickly list off the Browns additions and subtractions, and then I'll let you talk about the Browns, and then I'll come in with whatever I feel like was missed or was just a bad take.
Gotcha.
Because I know you're full of them. All right, so the Browns added Kareem Hunt, Odell Beckham Jr. I don't know who that is. They add Demetri Harris, Eric Kush, Olivia Vernon, Sheldon Richardson, Darius Taylor, Morgan Burnett. They lost Brashad Perryman, Darren Fells, Desmond Harrison, Jamie Collins, E.J. Gaines, Brienne Body Calhoun, and Jabril Peppers. And then they drafted Greedy Williams, Sione Takitaki, Celdrick Redwine, Mac Wilson, and Austin Siebert. All right, Matt, talk about the Browns here while I quickly step away. I'll still be able to hear you, though, so I'll hear all these bad takes.
A lot of people are overhyping the Browns, and a lot of people are underselling the Browns. This is a really team. This is a very young team. It's a very some bad games. They're going to make a lot of mistakes, but too much talent. Baker Mayfield's going to have a really Nick Chubb is a solid running back. Hopefully he can stay healthy to come back. Then that's just going to be scary. I think he's going to have a solid year if he can stay healthy and that hip isn't too much of a problem. I think Jarvis Landry is going to have a really good year. Him as a number 2 wide receiver, a lot of looks for him. I think Jarvis Landry a big year. Good tight end, really underrated. Your guy Rashard Higgins is a solid third receiver. Elway's coming back eventually. Their defense is really good. It got better. They had a solid defense last year, and it got even better. Going 11-5. Kind of similar with the Packers and Bears. I have them losing the tiebreaker with the Steelers, but I got them going 11-5. Division.
Okay.
I got them making the playoffs with a wild card spot, and I actually winning a playoff game. They're not ready for the Super Bowl yet, but I do have a playoff game.
Okay.
All right,
That's fair. All right.
sir.
So the Browns are going undefeated this year. Why? No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. All right, but let's just quickly break down the Browns offense. Baker Mayfield is the best quarterback I've ever seen in my entire life, and at least for the Browns. And I'm just
Brandon Whedon.
I'm
Hello.
happy. I'm happy. I thought Deshaun Kaiser was the guy. He's going to be the guy somewhere else, but not here.
Oh.
But to be serious about the Browns, adding Odell and Jarvis Landry is incredible. Jarvis is going to be their slot guy while Rashard Higgins and Odell Beckham Jr. are on the outside. Odell is able to blow the lid off the defense while Rashard Higgins is a very comparable route runner. Having Njoku and Nick Chubb are going to strive the most out of this defense or out of this offense. Njoku has just emerged as a premier receiving threat last year, and he'll continue to do that this year. Nick Chubb showed that he's a one-cut guy and he's gone, but he can also be a power back guy. His ball carrier vision is incredible. The Browns have a franchise quarterback, running back, wide receiver, tight end. Their offensive line is a huge question mark still. Greg Robinson is a big question mark. He had a great year or a great end of the year last year. Joe Bitonio, their right guard, is more than fine, same as J.C. Treader. I think next year J.C. Treader is going to emerge as the top center free agent. But besides that, their right guard right now is Eric Kush, who is not great. And then their right tackle is why can I not think of their right tackle's name from the Steelers last year? But besides that, the right tackle is fine. Chris Hubbard, thank you, Chris Hubbard.
Yeah, totally helped.
He'll be fine, but he's nothing special. The defense is what people are really is what's really got me excited. So you got Myles Garrett and Olivia Vernon coming off the edge. You have Sheldon Richardson, who is a Pro Bowler up the gut, but people really forget about Larry Ogunjobi. Larry Ogunjobi is probably the most underrated D tackle in the league. That dude is an absolute stud. The Browns are getting back Joe Schobert and Christian Kirksey, who may honestly not have a job by the end of the season, with Sione Takitaki and Mac Wilson showing that these draft picks, them as the draft picks, are really good. They're really solid. They're really improving. They also have Jernard Avery on the outside, which people forget. He had limited playing time last year, and he still got 5.5 sacks. And then the secondary is also going to be incredible. You got Terrence Mitchell, Denzel Ward, and Greedy Williams as your cornerbacks. Besides Terrence Mitchell, I think Greedy Williams and Denzel Ward can both be cornerback ones. Terrence Mitchell's a really solid cornerback 2 and now a cornerback 3. And you also have Morgan Burnett, who's a question mark. They got Cedric Redwine, who showed flashes but still needs some work as a rookie. And they also have Randall. Why can't I not think of his name?
Randall?
Demarius Randall. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So, and we traded Deshaun Kaiser for him. So, fair trade. I think the Packers.
My God.
I think the Packers got the most out of Deshaun Kaiser there, and the Browns are still running with Randall. He really showed that he is a solid safety, and I'm excited for it. They special teams wise, which was killed the Brown last year, they have the Scottish Hammer as their punter, James Gilligan, who can probably punt the ball about 7,000 yards. And then they have a new kicker. So, that's always fun. But I have the Browns going 11-5, winning the division this year. But, all right.
Wow.
Let's get into...
Get in the playoffs.
What's that?
Do you think they win a playoff game finally?
All right, so let me think. I'll go over my. I have the Chiefs and Patriots as 1 and 2, and then the Browns as. Uh, I don't know who the wild card team they would face would be. It's either the Chargers or the Steelers for me. I think they beat the.
Steelers game.
I think they can beat the Steelers in the playoffs. I don't know about the Chargers. The Chargers.
Two.
I think the Chargers. They can beat the Chargers, but the Chargers are still really good. You're gonna be surprised who my NFC South pick is, but we'll get into
Right.
them right now. All right, so you got the Titans, who this
Texans, because you think Deshaun Watson's a piece of garbage.
yeah, no, I do think Deshaun Watson is a piece of garbage. All right, so the Titans this year they added Adam Humphries, Brent Urban, Cameron Wake. They lost Luke Stocker, Josh Klein, Quentin Spain, Derek Morgan. They drafted Jeffrey Simmons, who's really solid, A.J. Brown, Nate Davis, Amani Hooker, who I also really like out of Iowa. So that Titans are a weird team. Their running backs are hit or miss with Deion Lewis and Derrick Henry. I think people are overhyping Derrick Henry way too much. Their receivers are. I really like Corey Davis, but he didn't show up as much last year. But I think he'll be better this year. They are losing Taylor Dewan for the first few games of the season, so that's going to be a huge miss for them. He's their left tackle. I don't know what to think about this team because Marcus Mariota needs to show up, and their defense is fine, but it's nothing special.
Not a big fan of this Titans team. Not a big guy. I think he's a solid quarterback. He hasn't really shown anything too great.
But yeah, he's a definition of middle of the road quarterback.
I got the Titans going 4-12 this year. I think they're
Wow.
the only team because this division's wide open, but I really don't see the Titans
Yeah.
consistent in their defense anymore.
Yeah, I mean, like they got Jarrell Casey, who I really like. They did just get Amani
Yeah.
Hooker. They have Jayon Brown, who I also like, but I have them going 7-9 just because of how bad this division is. That
Oh yeah,
I think they can sneak, but this is a prove it year for Mariota as well.
I'm by it.
Maybe he's the Dallas Cowboys' next quarterback. I don't know. Could you
Hilarious.
could you imagine going from Dak Prescott to Marcus Mariota? Oh, that would be so rough.
Going from the trash can to the recycle bin.
Yeah,
Jesus.
exactly. But I don't have a lot of great things to say. They have some nice young pieces,
I don't either.
but they need a new quarterback there. It's not working for
Identity.
them.
They don't know if they want to. They don't know if they want to tank or go for playoff runs. And I figure it out.
Hmm. All right, so we're gonna get into my playoff pick for the NFC or for the AFC.
Colts, isn't he?
What?
Colts.
No, for the AFC
Don't pick
South,
the Colts.
we are going to go with the team that added Nick Foles. We got Chris Conley. Uh, who else they had? They added Ramick Wilson. They lost T.J. Yeldon. They lost Carlos Hyde. They lost Dante Moncrief, Austin Seferian Jenkins, Malik Jackson, Jeremy Polino, Deshaun Gibson. They did lose a lot. I'm
Mm-hmm.
still big on the Jaguars though, just because of the division that they're in. They got guys like Marquise Lee, who I think are more than capable of being able to produce with Foles. They have Leonard Fournette, who's injury prone, but still a very boom guy. I don't know. I do like them. Their defensive line is absolutely ridiculous. They have Jalen Ramsey at least for now. They added Josh Allen, who was probably out of all of the players in the draft, first or second, and just most talented. But besides that, they have Marcel Darius, Abby Jones, who else? But yeah, like Calais Campbell. But I really like this Jaguars team, at least enough to win a putrid division. So
It's a record.
what am I going to say their record is? I'm going to say their record is a 9-7 playoff team.
I have the Jaguars coming in second in the
Okay.
division. I'm going 8-8
Okay.
division. Eagles better than Eagles. Defense. I think. Man, I hope Fournette can stay healthy. Solid running back. Foles has some solid weapons. This is really the best thing about this team. Still, I think it's going to win them a lot of games. They're only winning 8 of them, but it's going to be the reason they win most of their games. I think they're going to win a lot of low-scoring games, but I have them going 8-8 in just division.
I could see that. They do have some
It's
talent.
so open.
They have a
Anyone can win it.
they have a talented secondary with Jalen Ramsey and AJ Boyo. But and their defensive line is still really good. They also have I can never pronounce this guy's name. Yannick Nagaku. I don't know how to
Aquay.
Nagakwe. Is that how it is? Nagakwe. Uh,
Shit.
but I I only like this team because of the rest of the teams in the division. That's yeah, it's all right. So let's move into all right. You can talk about the Texans because I got nothing nice to say about this team whatsoever.
All right. So I've been slowly each and every year. I'm like, what is Bill O'Brien doing with this team? Because he's starting off, I'm like, okay, I can see it, and then I'm like, what is going on? I'm a little more Watson than you. He's and you give him credit for. He's got. Mine is just so bad that much better if he had some protection. Hopkins, who I think is Dills, which I think is a nice pickup.
Mhm.
They have another. Will Fuller's coming back from his 50th injury.
Yeah, Fuller, Hopkins, and Stills will be a very nice receiving combo for Deshaun Watson to throw at their feet.
Pick up Carlos Hyde to back up Duke Johnson again, hilariously.
Yeah, that running back combo I like. I really like Duke Johnson. I'm glad he's gonna finally get some touches and everything. He's
Johnson guy.
he gets injured too. He gets well, not injured. He gets banged up too much to produce a lot though. That's his big problem. But when he's out there and when he's on, he's probably the best receiving running back in the game.
Yeah, he's a solid. Yeah,
And
I think the Texans' defense is a little overrated too.
yeah, I think so too.
Clowney, Jay
Yeah,
Watt to stay healthy. They're very old,
yeah,
fun players, but they're all aging. And yeah,
and so they trade for Laramie Tunsil. That at least gives him a little Deshaun Watson a little protection. But
that move.
uh, you don't like it, or you?
Like adding Laramie Tunsil,
But they gave up a lot.
they give up a lot. And I do have the Texans winning the division
You do
at a
have.
tiebreaker 8-8 record.
All right, so I do have the Texans as 8-8 as well. They still got J.J. Watt, but and they did add guys like Lonnie Johnson. Let me just go over the guys who they drafted. They drafted Titus Howard, Lonnie Johnson. They added Darren Fells, Matt Khalil, Bradley Roby, Brand Buddy Calhoun, Deshaun Gibson. They lost guys like Alfred Blue, Demarius Thomas, Ryan Griffin, Kareem Jackson, Kevin Johnson, Tyron Matthew. So they, I don't know, like their secondary I do like. I really like Lonnie Johnson out of Kentucky. Bradley Roby's a hit or miss guy for me. I have these guys going 8-8 as well, but I have them missing the playoffs.
They get destroyed in the playoffs, though. In
Oh,
my
if they do
prediction,
get in the playoffs, they are getting lit up.
they're playing the Browns in the first round and I just see the Baker Mayfield freaking lighting this team up and the defense completely shutting them down.
Absolutely, absolutely. All right.
I'm saying that about a Cleveland Browns team. It's an amazing time
I,
we
I
live in.
don't like. I was talking with my dad yesterday at the dinner table. I was like, I don't know how we're gonna. I don't understand how we're gonna like be able to like handle it this season because my dad told me he's like they got 4 out of the 6 primetime games the first 6 weeks. Like since when are the
That's freaking crazy.
or not primetime but national games? Like the only national game 4 out of the 6 weeks include the Cleveland Browns. And like I don't understand how we're gonna handle this season. I could barely handle having a quarterback last year. Like I remember them facing the Bengals, and my dad being like, "I think we finally found a quarterback," and I almost wanted to cry. But like I was like, "Oh my god, like, I don't understand it."
The only other time in my lifetime where the Packers and Browns have been good, except for that one weird year where Derek Anderson led us to a
Derek
10 and
Anderson,
6
Kellen
record.
Winslow, and Braylon Edwards just lit up the league. And Jamal
Only other
Lewis.
time, Jamal Lewis slowly losing his mind to concussions. Oh my god.
And
Fun times.
who was their other running back, the party starter? I forget what his name was.
Jerome Harrison, did we have him?
No, Jerome Harrison was a year after, I think. I need to look at this guy's name because he was just a baller in Madden as well. I do that Joe Jaravicious. Oh, they had Lawrence Vickers, but that's not who I'm thinking. But Lawrence Vickers is also my guy. Um,
Solid
once,
fullback. That's back when fullbacks were still a thing.
yeah. Who? Ruben Drones. Ruben Drones was
Ruben
that
Drones!
was
Oh
my
my god.
guy right there.
Giants.
All right.
Oh my god.
Now let's move into the AFC West. First off, we're going to lead off with the elite Joe Flacco and the Denver Broncos. The Denver
Ah,
Broncos add Joe Flacco, Jawan Williams, Kareem Jackson, Bryce Callahan. They lose Case Keenum, Jared Vidal here, Matt Paradise, Shaq Barrett, Shane Ray, Brandon Marshall, Bradley Roby, Darion Stewart. They draft Noah Fant, Dalton Risher. They draft Drew Lock. They also have Dramonte Jones and Justin Hollins. Oh, this team is really bad. They have some solid pieces. I really like Cortland Sutton and Philip Lindsay. I think Philip Lindsay played better than what he is last year, but I think he's still really solid. But and Emmanuel Sanders is still there, but man, this team is bad.
I got them going 4-12. That's after Drew Lock is out for the year, and they're stuck with Joe Flacco. They're stuck with him.
I have them going 5-11, but yeah, I agree. Like it's
Emmanuel Sanders, I think he can come back from injury. A big Cortland Sutton guy. I haven't seen enough of him. I have a solid running game. Philip Lindsay, Royce Freeman. I think they still have Devontae Booker. They're wasting Von Miller.
and you know they do
Or
have
not Nick Chubb, the other Chubb.
Bradley Chubb.
The other Chubb.
Yeah, the other Chubb.
Kareem Jackson's a solid pickup, but that's not going to be a good year for Broncos fans. John Elway, you need to stop.
Yeah, they need to fire Elway, and Bryce Callahan was a solid slot cornerback pickup, but yeah, that defense just revolves around Von Miller and Bradley Chubb, and their secondary is fine, but yeah, it's.
Teams, I want Joe Flacco to have an incredible year. It's not going to happen. But could you imagine if Joe goes off?
I would love that so much. It would just be like the biggest chef kiss in the world, and
You can look at all the Ravens fans like.
yeah, I would. Oh, that's like a top 10 scenario
Amazing.
for me right there. I just realized
That would be great.
we didn't talk about the Colts.
Oh, it's 6-10. Jacoby Brissett's okay. Freaking their defense is okay. Their offensive line, their running game's a question mark.
I like Marlon Mack and Naheem Hines. I like those two. That's a solid combo.
When you have Jacoby Brissett as your quarterback, how good can your running game be?
That's the problem. And they got T.Y. Hilton, but
They'll be in the playoff discussion, but
yeah, I think playoff discussion around like week 13, week 14, they'll still be in it, but they'll be like a team that's like, all right, this team has to lose this many, this team has to win this many, and all that good stuff. But
all this freaking stuff.
yeah, but I still really like what they're doing. They should tank this year because they still have young pieces like Derwin James as well. I really like, and Darius Leonard as well. Or no, they don't have Derwin James. I'm sorry, I am thinking of Darius Leonard. Yeah. They have. I think
the freaking. Yeah, right.
Who is?
Isn't Derwin James on the Jags?
Chargers, right?
Wrong. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm stupid.
But they also did get Rocky Sin, who I do like. They start across from Pierre Desir, who Pierre Desir had a breakout year. Really wish that would have been with the Browns, but that's fine. Um, but no, Colts defense is still really good. Their offense is still very solid, and besides Jacoby
See
Brissett,
what Jacoby Brissett does.
yeah. So
I'm really interested in how he's going to do.
I do have them going 8-8, but they're just gonna miss the playoffs. All right, so back to the AFC West. Let's talk about Philip Rivers, his 11 kids, and the Los Angeles Chargers. Uh, so they picked up Thomas Davis. They lost Tyrell Williams, which was a decent loss for them. Antonio Gates, Darius Philon, Corey Liggett, Jason Verrett. They did draft Jerry Tillery, who I really like, and Nazar Adderley. The Chargers need Keenan Allen to be a number one receiver this year, and
Yeah.
like it's they also have who's their other across Mike Williams, right? They Mike Williams as
Yeah.
well. That's a solid receiving duo, but they need Keenan Allen to be that guy because Keenan Allen's been a wide receiver one, but he's been so inconsistent. They really need him to step up. Mike Williams going to be fine. They have Travis Benjamin, who's okay. The big thing is what's with Melvin Gordon, like.
I don't think he's playing with it. He's either playing with a different team or he's not playing with the Chargers this year. So
Yeah, I agree.
thinking Melvin Gordon's not a Charger.
I also agree. Besides that, their defense is still really good. They have Bosa, they have Melvin Ingram, they have uh, who did we just Derwin James. Their defense is still very solid. It'll keep them in the playoff push, and I think they do still. I think they do make it in the playoffs as a wild card at 11-5. But I think it's
Six.
I think it's gonna be a tough 11-5 for them.
I got him going 10-6. I think Philip Rivers is still solid. I suck without Melvin Gordon. That's a big.
Like Austin Eckler's a
Keenan
fine,
Allen. Yeah,
yeah, but
he's a starter.
he's not a starter.
Okay. Keenan Allen, if they're both healthy, that's really good. Hunter Henry's a solid tight end if he
Oh,
can come
Hunter
back
Henry.
healthy.
Yeah.
And if he gets hurt, I'm sure Antonio Gates will freaking with his arthritic back and come back to freaking catch 1-yard touchdowns. If they can kick field goals consistently, that'd be nice for them. Defense is really good. I got him going 10-6, winning a wild card. I can see him winning a playoff game, but I can't see this team winning a Super Bowl.
Yeah, I don't either. And then
Philip
let's
Rivers.
finally, oh no, we still got to talk about Kermit the Frog Boy. All right, so the Chiefs won, won. They added Frank Clark, Alex Okafor, Damian Williamson, Rashad Breeland, Carlos Hyde. Wait, is Hyde with them now, or did they trade him to the Texans?
McCoy.
Oh, they got McCoy. That's right. Okay. And they also added Tyrann Mathieu. They lost Spencer Ware, Kelvin Benjamin, D Ford, Justin Houston, Eric Berry. So they lost a lot of defensive pieces on a team that was already not great at defense.
Really bad at defense.
Yeah, I mean, but when you had the potential to go up 50 points a game, like it's not the biggest thing in the world. I think they regress a little bit this year, especially without having Kareem Hunt. But that team is just still so dominant. I did not realize they had Kelvin Benjamin. That's hilarious. Oh no, they had Kelvin. Yeah, they did have Kelvin Benjamin. Okay, that's hilarious. But I don't know. I think Sammy Watkins regresses. I think Tyreek Hill and Patrick Mahomes are still good. The problem is Tyreek Hill is one allegation away from being suspended indefinitely.
Yeah.
And but Andy Reid's still great. So I have them going 13-3, maybe 14-2. But that defense is still bad. But I mean it's hard. I can't. Mahomes is the best quarterback in the league right now. So
I'm assuming Mahomes is terrible and have the worst sophomore slump in history. I still think he's a really good quarterback. 14-2. I looked at their schedule. They don't have too many. Will be a problem for their offense. Their defense, I think that the best team in football, like easily, I can say the Chiefs win the Super Bowl. In the league, Coy to their running, it's going to really help them. Fine, Tyreek Hill is fine. Kelvin Benjamin, I don't know why you're still in the league.
No, they
Say
lost
anything.
Calvin Benjamin. So.
Yeah, the Chiefs are stuck with overhyped and overrated wide receivers from the 2014 wide receiver class.
Yeah, I mean they
Can't
have
say anything good about their defense.
well, the one good thing I can say about their defense is they have Chris Jones up the middle, and that dude is a baller. He had
Put all their focus on him.
Yeah, that is the problem. Is that I think how many sacks? He had 15 and a half sacks last year as a D tackle, but that is like the only good thing I can say about that defense. All right, let's get into America's team now, the Oakland Raiders.
Breaking news thing on my phone saying Antonio Brown's playing week 1.
Man, honestly, like I like that more because that just adds to the Raiders there. But they got
a cameraman on that game that is solely responsible for being on Antonio Brown the entire time.
Oh yeah. All right, so they added Isaiah Crowell, who's garbage, Antonio Brown, Tyrell Williams.
Pretty out for the year.
Oh really?
I think.
Did I miss that somewhere? Oh yeah, he tore his Achilles. That happened in May.
Kobe. Done.
All right. Well, so they have Antonio Brown, Tyrell Williams, J.J. Nelson, Ryan Grant, Trent Brown, who I do like. They have Brandon Marshall, Vontez Burfict, LaMarcus Joyner, Curtis Riley.
Oh my God.
They lost Marshawn Lynch, Jordy Nelson, Jared Cook, Donald Penn. So like, there's no way this team wins more than like 3 games, right?
I have them going 5-11.
Really?
Oh, what's wrong with me?
Dude, like
it's awful, but Carr is a starter.
I've always been.
This is a big year for Derek Carr.
Yeah, I've always been a big Derek Carr guy, and he does have Antonio Brown and Tyrell Williams now, so that's better. And they do have Josh Jacobs. They did draft Josh Jacobs.
Gonna be good
with Colin Farrell and Jonathan Abram. So decent draft picks. They also got Trayvon Mullen, who I do like, but yeah, like I really like Derek Carr, and I want to see him succeed, but he's never going to succeed with the Raiders. And
no.
They
likes them either.
They're another tank for Tua team as well. So I'm excited for that. I think they go 3-13. But
I mean, they got 2 games against the Broncos, so that's cool.
Yeah, exactly.
Josh Jacobs, I think he'll be.
Yeah, I do think Josh Jacobs will be pretty good. But there's not much good to say about that team whatsoever.
And Antonio Brown on the same team. That's all.
You like that Burfict and Antonio Brown on the same team? I like that too. I'm so glad that have you watched Hard Knocks this year? Because I haven't watched it. I've heard it's been incredibly boring.
They're missing all the good stuff, man.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like
Hard Knocks guy.
I don't know, but they're coached by Gruden. So they'll be coached by a mediocre coach for the next 8 more years. So
God,
what a great team they have there in Las Vegas.
Cowboys trade for John Gruden after the Cowboys underperformed here and they fire Garrett, and then they trade for John Gruden. That would be hilarious.
Please make that happen. John Gruden with Jameis Winston as your quarterback in Dallas. Let's go.
I love rooting the Cowboys.
I want that to happen so bad. But yeah, no. So we'll. Do you have any sleepers or busts this year for teams or players? I can't. I don't really.
For this year. Yeah, my sleeper this year is the Falcons. I have them going at a crazy 13-3.
Mm-hmm.
Best this year. The guess the Rams
The Rams is your bust. Okay, I could see that.
making the playoffs though.
Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah,
Oh
sleepers.
man,
Like I said,
it's tough.
sleepers. I have the Lions, even though they're not making the playoffs. I think the Falcons are a good sleeper pick. Um, busts this year.
Oh, the Ravens. How about that? The Ravens.
The Ravens as a bust or a sleeper. You cut out sleeper or bust.
They're trash.
Okay, so as a bust. Yeah, I could see that as a bust. There's like a part of me where I think like the Chargers could be a bust team, but I don't know.
I agree. I
Um,
agree.
maybe the 49ers as a sleeper, maybe. I don't know. Like,
Yeah,
I,
quarterbacks that you have so much questions about where they could be a solid team, but you just
and the Vikings are so talented, but like you already know that they're not going to be a team, so you can't really count them as a bust. But yeah, I don't know. Like award like MVPs this year, I think it goes to Mahomes. Coach of the year probably goes to. Let me look here. Um, I don't I don't know.
LaFleur
Maybe Freddie Kitchens. Maybe Buffalo's coach. Um,
or
yeah, I don't know. I don't think Cardinals do enough good enough for Cliff Kingsbury to win it. Um,
no
maybe Packers head coach. Who is it?
baby.
Um, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, Matt LaFleur. Yeah, maybe Matt LaFleur, but I don't know. Any breakout players you think?
Bears. Follow the Packers a lot. I think Marcus Valdez Scantling's going to have a really good year.
I do
I
too.
think Aaron Jones will finally play a full year. Any other team besides the Packers.
Yeah, so I think Corey Davis is going to do good things this year. I like Christian Kirk,
More for the Panthers.
DJ Moore for the Panthers. Yeah, I like those three guys a lot. And then besides that, running back wise, Josh Jacobs. But I mean, he's a rookie, so I don't know how much of a breakout he could have. But yeah. Um, besides that, you have any other
I think.
miscellaneous predictions or hot takes? And then do you want to do our
Uh,
Super Bowl game and Super Bowl winners?
Super Bowl games.
Who's gonna be the teams in the Super Bowl and who's winning it all?
Ready for this? Ready for this? Ready for this?
Hit me with it. You're gonna be the Packers, ain't it?
It's the Packers. I got Packers Chiefs.
That's exactly what I have too. I think Packers beat the Chiefs
Oh
in the playoffs. So
yes, I
in the
have.
Super Bowl.
Oh my God.
So this is the
And
first. This is
something.
the first time we agree. So obviously that's not gonna happen. So sorry, Matt. Um, but besides that, you have any other hot takes or anything you else want to add?
I had my championship games were Packers Eagles, and Chiefs Patriots again.
I have Chiefs Browns for mine and Packers and
Saints.
Packers and Saints for my NFC Championship game.
Here's beating the Saints in the divisional round.
I have the Saints and Packers
Beating
getting
the Bears in the
buys.
playoffs. So that's
So
beautiful. I have them as a 6 seed, like back in.
yeah. So all right. So we both agree that
It's
the
a
Packers.
long episode,
This
dude.
was a long episode, but
Dear God.
we got the whole NFL. Our next few episodes are going to be awesome. Me and Matt have a lot of fun things planned, and
Yeah.
we're really excited for this to keep on going. This is going to be a long edit for me, so I don't know if I'm getting this out before Sunday, but I might get it out on Sunday, so I don't know. Um, but as always,
Mission.
thank you for watching. Please rate, comment, subscribe. Tell us what you
Oh.
like. Tell us what you don't like. Hopefully, we can deliver you better and better podcasts each time.
Yeah.
Baker Mayfield's the best quarterback of all time, and thank you for watching.
What?
Lions are a playoff team.